The Disciplines of the Souls. By Imam al-Ḥārith al-Muhasibi, who died in the year 243 of the Hijra. Dealings with God. The signs of knowing God. It is related that one of the sages said, I counsel you, and myself, and whoever hears my words, to be mindful of God, who created his servants, to whom is the return, and through whom come soundness and right guidance. So be mindful of him, O my brother, with the mindfulness of one who has come to know the nearness of God to him, and his power over him. And believe in him with the faith of one who has acknowledged his oneness, his uniqueness, and his eternity, on account of all that has become manifest of the witnessing of his dominion, the evidences of his sovereignty, the abundance of proofs of him, the signs that point to his lordship, the execution of his will, the perfection of his handiwork, the demonstration of his power over the whole of his creation, and the excellence of his ordering. His, indeed, are the creation and the command, blessed is God, Lord of the worlds. And trust in him, O my brother, with the trust of one whose opinion of him is good, whose suspicion of him is slight, who believes his promise, relies upon his guarantee, whose heart is settled, free of all agitation, upon his promise, and in whose heart his warning looms great. And thank him, O my brother, with the thanks of one who has recognized his grace, whose favors from him are many, and who has known his kindness. And come to recognize his blessings, the outward and the inward, the particular and the general, and be sincere to him with the sincerity of one who has known that he accepts no deed until it has been purified of its faults, sincerity to God, who has no partner, associating none besides him in his deed. And know, O my brother, that to associate created beings in one's deed is this, that the servant adorns himself before them in the places of trial, so he is false in his deed, or makes a show of it to be honored, and exalts himself for the beauty of his speech and the fine appearance of his deed, whether he is aware of this in himself or ignorant of it. And none is safe, O my brother, from its evil except one who flees from its occasions, and who works without loving that any creature should look upon his work, and if a creature does look upon a work of his while he does not love that he should look, then part of his truthfulness is that he should not love that this creature praise him for what he has seen of his deed. And if anyone praises him while he does not love his praise, let him not be gladdened by his praise of his work, and should it gladden him, let him by no means rejoice for the sake of the world, for any cause whatever. Then be truthful, O my brother, in your word and your deed, with the truthfulness of one who has known that God is acquainted with the innermost of his affair, his secret and his open conduct, and whatever his conscience has folded within. And rely upon him, O my brother, with the reliance of one who trusts his promise and is at peace with his guarantee, out of confidence in his fulfillment, contentment with his decree, submission to his command, faith in his ordainment, and a truthful certainty regarding his paradise and his fire. And fear him, O my brother, with the fear of one who has known his might, the severity of his retribution, the pain of his punishment, his exemplary chastisements, and his effects and visitations upon whoever opposes his command and disobeys him. And know, O my brother, that there is no security for anyone he has forsaken, and no benefit conferred upon anyone he has granted success, set aright, guarded, and preserved, and that none has the endurance to bear his punishment, his chastisement, and the turning of his blessings. And hope in him, O my brother, with the hope of one who has believed his promise and beheld his reward. And thank him, O my brother, with the thanks of one from whom he has accepted his good works, set his deeds aright, granted him an increase of his favors, and bestowed upon him of the abundance of his honors what he did not deserve by his work. And feel shame before him, O my brother, with the shame of one who has come to recognize the abundance of his bounty and the plenty of his gifts, and who has known of himself his own shortcoming in thanking him, his little fulfillment of his covenant, and his incapacity to render what is due of his right. Then he perceives from his Creator nothing but the beauty of his covering, the greatness of his protection, abundant and unceasing blessings, the continuance of his kindness toward him, and the greatness of his forbearance and his pardon. Then know, O my brother, that God, exalted is his remembrance, has imposed obligations, outward and inward, and laid down for you sacred laws, guided you to them, commanded you with them, promised you abundant reward for performing them well, and warned you against neglecting them with painful punishment, out of mercy to you, and made you wary of himself out of compassion toward you. So arise, O my brother, with his obligations, hold fast to his laws, conform to the way of his prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, follow the traces of the companions of his prophet, keep to their conduct, take on their fine manners, walk their road, be guided by their guidance, and seek nearness to God through love of them and love of whoever loves them, for they are the ones who turned back to him and sought his pleasure, and whom he chose for the companionship of his prophet, making them beloved and intimate friends for him. The reality of drawing near through love of the righteous. And know, O my brother, that the sign of your love for them is your keeping to their clear path, together with the uprightness of your heart, the soundness of your deed, the truthfulness of your tongue, and the goodness of your inner life in the matter of your world and your hereafter, just as those people were in these states. This is what verifies in you the truth of your claim to love them and your holding fast to their way. So when these qualities are sound in you and from you, as they were sound in them and from them, you are truthful in the love of those people and in following them well. But if you claim to love them while opposing their deeds, deviating from the road of uprightness toward the clear path they walked, then you are inclining toward agreement with your own desire, deviating from their course, and you are not truthful in your claim. So do not gather upon yourself both opposition to their clear path and the claim that you are upon their way, for whenever you do that, ignorance and falsehood are established against you, and you expose yourself to the displeasure of the subtle, the all-aware. Rather, let there be acknowledgement and the seeking of forgiveness, that is more fitting for whoever is of this description. Yet you have, O my brother, a portion in the truth. For it has been said, there shall come upon mankind a time in which the one who confesses the truth will be saved. The governance of the soul. So when you have known the truth and acknowledged it, and the truth has shown you that God has upon you, alongside the outward obligations, an inward obligation, namely, the setting aright of the inner states, the uprightness of the will, the truthfulness of the intention, the scrutiny of one's resolve, and the purity of the conscience from everything God dislikes, and the binding of remorse over all that has passed of relapses, with the heart and the limbs, regarding what God has forbidden. This is a matter that God has set as an overseer over the deeds of the limbs. So whatever of the servant's deeds is an outward act, it is accepted by virtue of the inner, whatever is sound and accords with its inner is set aright, and its outward is accepted, and whatever opposes it and whose inner is corrupt, its outward deeds are returned upon him though they be many, and their outward is lost on account of the corruption of their inner. All of this is verified by the saying of God Most High, and leave what is apparent of sin and what is concealed thereof. Indeed, those who earn blame for sin will be recompensed for that which they used to commit. And by the saying of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, deeds are but by intentions, and to every person belongs only what he intended. And his saying, in the son of Adam there is a morsel of flesh, when it is sound, the whole body is sound, and when it is corrupt, the whole body is corrupt, meaning his deed, truly, it is the heart. And his saying, the angel multiplies the deeds of the servant after his death before God Most High, saying, your servant, I never ceased to be with him until you took him in death. Then he recounts the good of his deeds, multiplies them and makes them pleasant, and praises him well. Then God Most High says, you were a keeper over the deed of my servant, and I was the watcher over his heart, and this deed of his which you multiplied and made pleasant was not sincerely for me, and I accept from my servant only what was purely for me. So know your soul, O my brother, examine its states, and search out the resolve of its conscience, with care from you and compassion. For fear of its ruin, for you have no soul other than it, and if it perishes, it is the supreme catastrophe and the greatest calamity. So sharpen your gaze upon it, O my brother, with a penetrating, keen-sighted eye, until you come to know the faults of its deeds and the corruption of its conscience, and until you know what its tongue stirs into motion. Then take hold of the reins of its desire and curb it with the wisdom of fear and the firmness of opposition, and return it, with gentle kindness, to the renewal of sincerity in its deed, the correction of the will in its conscience, the truthfulness of speech in its utterance, the uprightness of intention in its heart, and the lowering of the gaze from what its master dislikes, together with abandoning excessive looking at even what is permitted to look upon, for that draws upon the heart the love of the world. And take it with deafness toward listening to anything its master dislikes, of caprice and obscenity, and in its taking and withholding, its expanding and contracting, in its joy and its grief. And take it to setting aright what reaches its belly of nourishment, and what it covers itself with of clothing. And take it with all its concerns entirely. And restrain its private parts from all that its master dislikes. But along with that, let there be from you a wakefulness and a removing of heedlessness from your heart, at every motion and stillness of yours, at silence and at speech, at entering and leaving, in vigor, and in love and hatred, in laughter, and in weeping. So tend it carefully, O my brother, in all of this, for in every kind we have mentioned it has a cause of its desire, a cause of its obedience, and a cause of its disobedience. If it grows heedless and follows its caprice, and you grow heedless of scrutinizing its concerns, all that I have mentioned to you becomes acts of disobedience from it. But if you fall through heedlessness, then return through wakefulness to the opposing of its desire, and there is with you remorse over your heedlessness and your lapse, all of that turns back to good and to acts of obedience for you. So watch over it, O my brother, with a watchful care, ever in motion from you on its behalf, for fear of its ruin, for thereby you cut off from Iblis the road of acts of disobedience, and you open for yourself the gate of good things, and there is no strength save in God, the Most High, the Most Great. Between the tongue and the heart. The danger of the tongue. Accuse your soul, O my brother, against yourself, accuse it more severely than you would accuse your bitterest enemy. And fear your tongue, O my brother, more than you fear the savage beast that is near and able to seize you, for the one slain by the beast, if he is of the people of faith, his reward is paradise, while the one slain by the tongue, his punishment is the fire, unless God pardon. So beware, O my brother, of heedlessness regarding the tongue, for it is a savage beast, and the first of its prey is its own companion. So close the door of speech upon yourself with a firm latch, then do not open it except for what you cannot do without, and when you open it, be wary, and take of speech only the need you cannot avoid, and then close the door. And beware of heedlessness in that, and of going on at length in talk, and of letting speech draw you along until you destroy yourself, for it is related that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said to Mu'adh, and does anything cast people upon their faces into hell but the harvests of their tongues? And a man asked him, what shall I guard against? He said, this, meaning your tongue. And a man said to him, what do you fear most for me? He said, this, and the messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him peace, took hold of his own tongue. And another said to him, what is salvation? He said, restrain your tongue, let your house suffice you, and weep over your sin. And he said, may God bless him and grant him peace, whoever stays silent is saved. And he said, whoever wishes to be safe, let him keep to silence. And Umar ibn al-Khattab came upon Abu Bakr, may God be pleased with them both, while he was holding the tip of his tongue and pulling at it. He said, what are you doing? He replied, this has led me into difficulties. And Abdullah ibn Masud said, nothing is more deserving of long imprisonment than the tongue. And so on, to many reports concerning the tongue. So beware, O my brother, of heedlessness regarding it, for it is the most grievous of your limbs in crimes against you. Most of what you will find in the record of your deeds on the day of resurrection of evil is what your tongue dictated against you, and most of what you will find in your record of good is what your heart earned. The superiority of the heart's work over the tongue's work. And that is because the earning of the hearts of the wise and the people of insight, in the matter of good, consists of hidden works, concealed from Iblis and from the recording angels. They are works pure of corruption, untainted, attained with little burden upon their doers, abundant in reward, kept safe from the assaults of the enemy and from the desire of the soul. And that is because they are concealed works, hidden from the eyes of the servants, obscure, for the servant reaches them while standing, sitting, and lying down. Such are the people of understanding, those who remember Allah while standing or sitting or lying on their sides. And most of their remembrance is reflection, God Most High has said, and contemplate the creation of the heavens and the earth. They are the people of obscurity among the believers, who worshipped God with a worship that did not become apparent from them. Umar ibn al-Khattab came upon Abu Bakr while he held the tip of his tongue. So fear God concerning your tongue. The governance of the heart. Purifying the heart from craving the world. And tend your heart carefully, O my brother, with the means of the hereafter, expose it to that, and protect it from the means of the world and from any remembrance that draws it toward craving and desire. And do not permit your heart to keep company with what is hard to attain, on whose account the light of the heart is extinguished, and be eager to bring it into harmony with praiseworthy outcomes, and frighten your soul with the punishment of what is in its hands of the world, and your scant fulfillment of the thanks due upon you for it. And reckon great what is in your hands, on account of what you know of the weakness of your thanksgiving, so that the soul is occupied with what is in its hands away from preoccupation with the affair of the world and the love of increase in it. So when you have given it rest from the remembrance of increase in the world, and have carried it to the degree of fear of what is in its hands, it grows content and satisfied, abstains from seeking the world with craving and desire, and returns to the hereafter, craving it and desiring it, for the soul is built upon the foundation of covetousness. The dangers of greed upon the heart. The outlet of craving and desire is from greed, and the building of soul stands upon the foundations of greed. As for greed in the world, it employs the instrument of greed in seeking increase of the world, and as for greed in the hereafter, it employs the instrument of greed in seeking increase of the works of the hereafter, with craving for them and desire for them. It was said to a sage, "What is the instrument of greed and the sum of its faults?" He said, "Voraciousness, craving, and the surge of desire. Upon whichever of these the soul casts its greed, it readies its instrument, gathers its tools, and strives in seeking it. So when it overpowers its companion to agree with its caprice, it enslaves him, stupefies him, debases him, bewilders him, wearies him, makes his mind reckless, defiles his honor, wears out his manliness, and seduces him away from his religion, and even if he be a learned, intelligent, clever, shrewd, eloquent, wise, and discerning man, it sullies him, brings him down, and disgraces him. He endures all of that, though he is the sagacious, learned, cultivated one, and it renders him, after knowledge, ignorant and foolish, dull and slight. That is because it has made him drink, from agreeing with its caprice, a cup of pure poison, and lured him, so he inclined, with his knowledge, his mind, his understanding, the penetration of his wisdom, and his insight, and it carried him along in the course of his soul's desire. So it hastened to him disgrace in the present world, before its wise and its learned, brought him down from the favor of God and from the eyes of his servants among the people of insight, and deferred to him the long, lasting remorse at the parting from the world and in the open expanses of the resurrection. Subduing the soul to seek the hereafter. So when the servant cuts off from it greed for the means of the world, and overcomes its caprice with his intellect, it returns with its greed to the means of the hereafter inevitably, for it was built upon greed. So when it has stripped itself of the means of the world and turned upon itself with despair of created beings, it returns with its desire and its greed to the means of the hereafter, striving in seeking them and exerting itself, and it shuns the world, parts from desire, opposes the enemy, follows knowledge, becomes a mount for the intellect, patient upon whatever the truth points to, so it is saved and it saves others. Fear and sorrow. The means of attaining fear and sorrow. And tend your heart carefully, O my brother, in its aspirations, and bind upon it reflection in the matter of the return to God, so that it does not depart from your heart, and conceive in your heart the terror of the place of beholding at the parting from the world, and the abandonment of what its people have expended in the very souls of themselves, the defiling of their honor, the wearing out of their manliness, and the diminishing of their religion. Then they left all of that behind and came before God, single, one by one, along with what they came upon of the desolation of the grave, the questioning of Munkar and Nakir, the terrors of the resurrection, the standing before God, and the interrogation about all that issued from them, of word or deed, even the weight of motes and the measures of mustard seeds. And his being asked about youth, in what he wore it out, and about the lifespan, in what he spent it, and about wealth, from where he acquired it, from whom he withheld it, and in what he spent it, and about knowledge, what he did with it, and about all the deeds in which they were truthful, and the intention in which they lied. For if you, O my brother, occupy your heart with that, settle it upon it, and there is in you something of soundness of the structure of intellect, then your tongue will fail you, and the abiding fear will not forsake you, together with continual sorrow and an all-encompassing preoccupation of your heart. Iblis loves ruined hearts. And Iblis only scales over you, in sins, from the whispering of your soul and the ruin of your heart. Its ruin only comes about when it is empty of the abiding fear and the continual sorrow, then at that point he breathes into it the whispering of the hopes of the world and the gathering of it, for fear of its poverty, together with attaching long-stretched hope to your heart, turning it away from God Most High, severing the supplies of God's greatness from it, and emptying it of awe and shame before him. But when he finds the heart full, he slinks back and flees from it, and finds in it no entry nor any opening from its sides, for the heart full of fear, sorrows, and reflection is luminous and radiant. By the light of his heart the servant sees the entry points of Iblis, so he pelts him with denial of what he calls toward, and takes refuge in what God has strengthened him with of the light of his heart, and drives him off. So the vile one turns away to a heart that has lost fear, that is ruined and darkened, with no light in it. Nothing is heavier upon the vile one than light. When he finds it, he slinks away and flees from it, and has no power over it except by way of the servant's heedlessness. And the light of the heart is from that which admonishes and gives it life, so when it grows heedless, it dies and darkens, and its light is extinguished, and there becomes confused upon the servant what the enemy brings in upon him, or makes turbid for him. So Iblis slips in upon the servant, the heart persists in heedlessness, and he scales over it with sins. Then, when it persists in dwelling upon them and is content with them, the rust overspreads it and darkens it, Iblis settles within it, and then he leads it along the road of sins until he brings it to fall into the major sins. Nothing delights Iblis more than the darkness of the heart, its blackness, the extinguishing of its light, and the heaping up of rust upon it, and nothing is heavier upon the vile one than light, whiteness, purity, and clarity. His dwelling is only darkness, otherwise he has no dwelling and no abode in light and whiteness. It has reached me that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, used to dislike entering a dark house until a lamp was lit for him in it. Watchfulness of God Most High. What aids in watchfulness? It is related that one of the sages said, among the noblest and most excellent of stations is watchfulness of God. And among the best of watchfulness is that the servant be watchful by giving thanks for blessings, acknowledging wrongdoing, and exposing himself to pardon for wrongdoing, so that his heart remains bound to this station in all his deeds, and whenever he grows heedless, he returns it to this, by God's leave. And of what aids in this is, abandoning sins, freeing oneself from preoccupations, and devoting care to self-examination. And of the works of the heart by which it is purified, and which it cannot do without, are sincerity, trust, thankfulness, humility, submission, sincere counsel, loving God Most High, and hatred in Him. He said, the least of sincere counsel is that which, if you leave it, harms you, and which nothing but acting upon it will suffice for you, so whenever you fall short of it, you are persisting in disobedience to God Most High by abandoning sincere counsel to His servants. The least of that is, that you do not love for any one of mankind anything God dislikes, nor hate for them what God loves. This state, which we have described, is obligatory upon the creation. There is no room to abandon it for the blink of an eye, neither inwardly nor by the act of the limbs. And there is another state above this, which is a virtue for the servant, that he dislike for them what God dislikes, and love for them what God Most High loves. He said, a man came to Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak and said to him, counsel me. He said, be watchful of God. The man said, and what is watchfulness of God? He said, that you feel shame before God. Watchfulness and intimate discourse are of certainty. He said, intimate discourse and watchfulness are according to where you place your heart, and that is, that you place it below the throne, and so commune from there. There are two returnings by which the heart is brought back to watchfulness. The first is watchfulness of the gaze, together with recollection of knowledge. God Most High has said, indeed, He is knowing of that within the breasts. And God Most High has said, He knows what is within yourselves, so beware of Him. Then recall greatness, for the finding of sweetness. The other saying is, it is related that God, glory be to Him, revealed to Abraham, peace be upon him, O Abraham, do you know why I took you as an intimate friend? He said, no, O Lord. He said, for the length of your standing before me. It was said, his standing was only with the heart, not with formal prayer. And this accords with the Quran. God Most High has said, indeed, we chose them for an exclusive quality, remembrance of the home. And the saying of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, worship God as though you see him. And the report of Horata and his saying, it is as if I am looking at the throne of my Lord, brought into view. Of the etiquette of watchfulness. He said, the highest of deeds in degree is that you worship God upon joy in your Master, then upon exalting him, then upon thankfulness, then upon fear, and the last of the deeds is that which is performed through patient endurance. And patience is of various kinds, ordinary patience, and beautiful patience, then it issues into fear, and thankfulness, then into exalting, then joy. And whoever desires renunciation, let the abundance in the hands of people be little in his eyes, and let the little of his world be much in his eyes, and let the great harm from them toward him be small, and let the small good from him toward them be great in his eyes. He said, when your soul calls you to that by which it is cut off, toward where its own portion lies, then set between yourself and it an arbiter of shame before God Most High. He said, when souls call the shrewd to cut them off, by their deceits, from the road of their salvation, they take the souls to arbitration before shame of God Most High, and the ruling of shame humbles them. He said, the outlet of self-delusion is from the heart's good opinion of itself, and the outlet of the heart's good opinion of itself is from standing for God in what he dislikes, then from the soul's falsehood. He said, it is of sincere counsel that you love that all people be better than you. He said, before Ibn al-Mubarak a worshipper who worshipped without understanding was mentioned, and he said, would that between me and him there were a sea. He said, whoever cuts himself off to God cannot endure people, and whoever cuts himself off to other than God cannot endure to be apart from people. He said, whoever recites the Qur'an, what has he to do with the talk of people? He said, they are but a few days, so what is upon a man if he gives his soul to God? He said, humility for God is the lowliness of the heart. He said, the first of blessings is the knowledge by which the obligations of God are fulfilled, then health, then sufficiency, then intellect. He said, it is not for the servant to reject anything of his master's rulings, rather, it is upon him to be content with whatever comes upon him of his master's decree, and it is incumbent upon him to be patient. The servant has two states, a state in which he conforms with contentment upon what he loves, and a state in which he conforms with patience upon what he dislikes. Justice and grace. The laws of justice and the laws of grace. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. It is related that one of the sages said, the road of the hereafter is one, and people upon it are of two kinds, a kind, the people of justice, and a kind, the people of grace. Justice is of two kinds, outward justice, in what is between you and people, and inward justice, in what is between you and God. The road of justice is the road of uprightness, and the road of grace is the road of seeking increase. What is incumbent upon people to keep to in practice is the road of uprightness, it is not incumbent upon them to keep to the road of grace. Patience and scrupulousness are with justice, and they are both obligatory. Renunciation and contentment are with grace, and they are not obligatory. Fairness is with justice, and excellence is with grace. Whoever is kept by justice from grace is excused, but whoever is kept by grace from justice is deceived, a follower of his soul's desire. It is upon a person to know justice, it is not upon him to know grace except as a voluntary extra. And likewise, every deed that is not obligatory upon the servant to perform, it is not obligatory upon him to know. The traits of the people of justice. The servant does not become of the people of justice except by three qualities, by knowledge, until he knows what is for him and what is against him, by deed, and by patience. The key to justice, the first of it for the servant and the most binding upon him, is, that he know the measure of his own soul, so that it does not have with him a worth above its station, and that his inner state make his outer state aware. The most resolute of people in this, and the nearest of them to its grasp, is the one who returns upon his soul at every thought it desires or dislikes. He looks into that. Were people to look upon this state of his, would he feel shame or dislike it? Then he transforms from that state to a state of which one would not be ashamed, for that of which one is not ashamed is the opposite of that of which one is ashamed. So when he has transformed and continued, let him look again. If his soul desires that people should look upon him, let him transform from it to what his soul does not desire, for what it desires is the opposite, so he will be forever in the opposite of what his soul desires. The farthest of people from justice. The farthest of people from justice are the most heedless of this, and the least of them in self-examination, and the farthest of people from justice, and the longest of them in heedlessness of this, are the most negligent of it. Had you understood whom you watch, then were your limbs cut to pieces, your heart split, or you sank into the earth, you would be, by that, deemed mad with longing. But since you did not understand, you did not find the touch of shame and fear in the watchfulness of God Most High, and his scrutiny over your conscience, and his knowledge of what your senses draw upon your heart, and his power encompassing you, then you turned away after that, as one making light of it, to the watchfulness of one who is not aware of your secret and has no knowledge of what is in your conscience. So you said, were people to look upon what is in my heart, they would loathe me and detest me. So shame and fear of them seized you, in dread of the diminishing of your standing, and the fall of your rank among them, so you were watchful of them, fearful of them, anxious over their loathing, while you found no loathing of God toward you, nor the fall of your rank and your standing with him, and the loathing of God is greater. Then, when you do something of the acts of obedience that draw near to God, in nearness, and they look upon it, you have bound in your heart the love of their praise for that, and you have loved to take up a standing with them by it. And if it is something by which one draws near to God, of an act of obedience by the resolve of the conscience or the earning of the limbs, then if that was done in secret, you loved that they should come to know of it so as to praise you, and that your standing might rise by it. So you were not content with the regard of God, mighty and majestic, nor with his reward, neither in the secret deed nor in the open deed, rather you are content with that, pleased with it, heedless, persisting, vainglorious, deceived, and this state was, in your estimation, the best of your states and the most resolute of your affairs. Yet had you been content with God alone, and with his regard of you, and with his abundant reward for the people of his obedience, his love for them, his granting them success and his setting them aright, and his watch over them, that would have made you independent of the one who owns neither for you nor for himself any harm or benefit. And he has indeed accepted that from you. Would that you might hold to it. So the foremost of virtues for you, and the most beneficial to you, is, that your soul be, in your estimation, below its true measure, that your inner be better than your outer, that you render to people their dues and not take from them your due, that you overlook what comes from them, deal justly with them from yourself, and not demand fairness from them. And it is only purification, then work, and purification is more deserving of priority for us than work. Purification and work. The importance of purifying from faults before work. Purification is the passage from evil to the foundation upon which good is built. It may be that the building falls while the foundation remains, but it is not possible that the foundation falls while the building remains. And whoever does not purify himself before work, evil bars the servant from the benefit of good, so abandoning evil is more fitting for the servant, than he seeks good afterward. The soul is alarmed by purification and flees to the works of obedience, on account of the heaviness of purifying upon it, and the lightness of working with acts of obedience without purity. So when purifications come before working with acts of obedience, after they have become light upon it because of the place of purity, then the need for knowledge of the means from which good is sought, and which lead to God, is severe. So whoever has care for his soul and fears ruin for it seeks the subtle means with the fine points of sagacity and the deep diving of understanding, until he reaches them. And when he reaches them, he holds fast to them and works upon them, for knowledge of the faults of a deed comes before the deed, and knowledge of the road before traveling it. The servant's need to know himself, his desire, and his enemy, and to know evil, is more severe if he is shrewd, and he is more in need of that if he is sagacious and attentive to himself. For not every good is incumbent upon the servant to do, while all evil is incumbent upon the servant to abandon, and whoever abandons evil falls into good, and not everyone who works with good as one of its people. The servant's knowledge of evil contains the knowledge of both good and evil, whereas in the knowledge of good there are not both kinds of knowledge together. For everyone who distinguishes good from evil, then sets the evil apart and isolates it, all that remains after that is entirely good. And it may be that one knows good yet cannot distinguish what is in it of evil, of the faults that spoil it and nullify it, for good is mixed, intermingled with evil, while evil is wholly evil. Satan misleads people through good and through evil. The vile enemy has led astray from God many of mankind through good, and led astray many of them through evil. He led astray those whom he led astray through good only because of the scantness of their knowledge of what intermingles with good of evil. So they were ignorant of knowing that, and their souls deluded them that they were upon good and guidance, upon a road of love and a path of uprightness, while they were astray from God, deviating from the road of his love and the path of uprightness to him. And that is only from the multitude of the faults that attach to deeds and the scant knowledge of them by those who work. So to God we belong, and to him we return, seeking according to the measure of knowledge. How heedless people are of themselves, of their desires, and of their enemy. So we take refuge in God from the heedlessness, forgetfulness, and oblivion that bring ruin and spoil deeds. And the worthier course is, that the one who abandons evil abandons it according to the measure of what he knows of its harm, and he is upholding an obligation whose upholding draws him near to God, and the one who seeks good seeks it according to the measure of what he hopes for and knows of its benefit, and that knowledge is one thing, deed another, and benefit another. It may be there was knowledge but its possessor did not act upon it, and it may be there was knowledge and deed but no benefit, and it may be there was knowledge, deed, and benefit, then after that came nullification and cancellation. And it may be that the servant knew, acted, benefited, was kept safe, and was completed. The qualities from which good is sought. The seeker of good cannot do without 5 qualities, besides what he needs of the knowledge of the limits of deeds and their rulings, and the rendering of them to God Most High, pure and purified, blended with truthfulness, as he commanded, made obligatory, and prescribed, in the times he commanded and made obligatory. The one who works good cannot do without truthfulness, correctness, thankfulness, hope, and fear. Correctness. As for correctness, it is the way of the Prophet. And the way is not grasped by abundance of prayer, nor by abundance of fasting and charity, nor by intellect and understanding, nor by marvels of wisdom, nor by eloquence and exhortation, but by following and submitting to the book of God, mighty and majestic, and the way of his messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, and the rightly guided imams after him. Nothing is more suspect, nor more harmful to the way, than the intellect, for whenever the servant desires to travel the road of the way by intellect and understanding, he opposes it and takes a road other than its road. Truthfulness. As for truthfulness, it is in 4 things. That you do a deed, then desire for it neither recompense nor thanks save from God Most High, and that you do not nullify it by reproach. An injury. And of it is the truthfulness of the tongue in speech. Yet one may be truthful in his condition with his tongue while he is disobedient to God Most High in his truthfulness, and that is the backbiter and the slanderer. Thankfulness. As for thankfulness, it is the recognition of the trial. So when one knows that every blessing is from God and none other, and that it is only a trial by which he tests his servant, whether he gives thanks or is ungrateful, and that every evil turned away from the servant, it is God Most High who turned it away, so that his servant might thank him or be ungrateful, this is of thankfulness. So when the servant knows this, that it is from God, and counts it among his blessings upon him, and admits none into it, neither himself nor another, then he has thanked him. Thankfulness is of varying degrees, and people in it are different, ascending, this is its lowest, and as for its highest, none reaches it, and it has no limit. And of it also, resembling what we have described, except that it is the root of thankfulness, is, that the servant knows, in his heart, that what is with him of blessing is from God, with a certain knowledge that no doubts mingle with. So when he knows that in his heart, he mentions it with his tongue, praises him for it, and then does not seek help, through any of the blessings of the bestower, upon anything the bestower dislikes. And higher than that, of thankfulness, is, that you count every affliction that descends upon you a blessing, for of affliction God has sent down upon others what is more severe and greater than what he sent down upon you. People are in need, at that point, of patience, and it stands upon thankfulness. Hope. As for hope, it is, that you hope for the acceptance of your deeds and abundant reward upon them, while you fear, along with that your deed may be returned upon you, or that a fault may have entered it and spoiled it for you. The hopeful are 3. A man who did a good deed while truthful in its doing, sincere in it, intending God by it, seeking his reward, so he hopes for its acceptance and its reward, and with him is apprehension regarding it. A man who did an evil deed, then repented of it to God, so he hopes for the acceptance of his repentance and its reward, and hopes for pardon for it and forgiveness of it, and with him is apprehension lest he punish him for it. As for the 3rd, he is, the man who persists in sins, and in what he does not love for himself, and does not love to meet God with, yet hopes for forgiveness without repentance, while he is not repentant of them, nor desisting from them, and with all that he hopes. This one is called a deluded pretender, clinging to false hope, lying wishes, and false greed. Standing upon this severs the supplies of God's greatness from the servant's heart, so his turning away from him becomes continual, he grows familiar with the side of God's stratagem, feels secure against the hastening of punishment, and this is the deluded pretender, beguiled and led on by degrees. As for the likes of us among people, the fear should be greater with them than the hope, for truthful hope is only according to the measure of working with acts of obedience. Fear. Fear is according to the measure of sins. For were hope to be upright without work, the doer of good and the doer of evil would be equal in hope. And God Most High has said, indeed, those who have believed and those who have emigrated and fought in the cause of Allah, those expect the mercy of Allah. And he said, indeed, the mercy of Allah is near to the doors of good. And the meaning of the report that came, were the hope of the believer and his fear to be weighed, they would balance, ought to be particular to its people, and it is prior to the other report, which is, the believer is like one with two hearts, a heart by which he hopes, and a heart by which he fears. So he is only such that, when he does good, he hopes, and when he does evil, he fears, together with repentance, remorse, and desisting. As for one who has known his soul through the abundance of its wrongdoing, his fear ought to be according to that, and his hope according to what he knows of himself of good doing, for hope is according to the measure of seeking, and fear according to the measure of fleeing. Tribulation and Testing. The Qur'an affirms trial by the whole world. Know and be certain that the world, all of it, its much and its little, its sweet and its bitter, its first and its last, and every part of its affair, is a trial from God Most High for the servant, and a test. Its trials, though they be many, branching and varied, gather as a whole into two traits, into thankfulness and patience. Either one gives thanks for a blessing, or is patient over a calamity. God Most High has said, "Indeed, we have made that which is on the earth adornment for it that we may test them as to which of them is best indeed." And he said, "But to test some of you by means of others." And he said, "And he has raised some of you above others in degrees that he may try you through what he has given you." And he said, "And we have made some of you as trial for others, will you have patience?" And he said, "He created the heavens and the earth in 6 days, and his throne had been upon water, that he might test you as to which of you is best indeed." And he said, "And we will surely test you until we make evident those who strive among you and the patient, and we will test your affairs." And there is more than that in the book of God Most High. And the trial of Adam, peace be upon him, was less than a single verse in the book of God, but do not approach this tree. And all of it is a trial for you. The greatest trial is in people. And the greatest of what the servant is tried with of the people of the world is people. And the most trying of people for you, and the most preoccupying of you, are your acquaintances among them. And the most occupying of your acquaintances for you, and the greatest trial upon you, are those among whom you dwell, who look at you and at whom you look, who speak to you and to whom you speak. For whoever of the people of your age does not know you, and you do not know him, and you have not heard of him, it is as if you were not tried by them, and as if they were not tried by you, and as if they were not of this world you are in. So return, in your patience, to God, seek his help, cut yourself off to him, find intimacy in his remembrance, and reduce mixing with people as much as you can, rather, leave even the little of it, that you may be safe, on account of the saying of God Most High, "And we have made some of you as trial for others, will you have patience? And ever is your Lord, seeing." So flee from trial. Your patience returns to your acquaintances and those among whom you dwell, your looking at them is a trial, and their looking at you is a trial, your speaking with them is a trial, and their speaking with you is a trial, your harshness toward them is a trial, and their harshness toward you is a trial, their honoring you is a trial, and your honoring them is a trial for you. Take a lesson from this by a place you pass through in which your acquaintances are, and a place you pass through in which there is no one who knows you. And likewise the appetites of food and clothing, and the appetites of the eye, what is lawful to look upon and what is unlawful to look upon, whatever of that lies in a land other than the one you are in, you are safe from it, and its trial is turned away from you, God willing, for its burden is lifted. And so you are in all your affairs. Trial in deeds. The deed you do is only a trial, in it you desire to be shielded from the eyes of people, and most of them are those who know you for good, so your deeds are a trial for you. If you make the pilgrimage and remain alone, with no one accompanying you who knows you for good and whom you know, that is safer for you, otherwise it is a trial, so see how you may be safe from it. And if you leave a town in which you are known for good, and you leave it while they do not know where you intend, that is safer for you, but if they know, it is a trial, so see how you may be safe from it. And likewise the raiding expeditions, and the trial of the people of raiding, and what befalls them in their campaigns of ordeal and affliction is greater than the affliction of others, among those who do the deeds of righteousness. Before they enter into these things, they are in well-being. So when they enter them, the trial comes, of mutual envy among them, their greed for what they hope of the shares of spoils, their greed for the mounts, and for what is allotted to people in the way of raiding. I once heard a man, of those renowned among the people of raiding, one who had valor at the meeting of the enemy and a great name among the volunteers, saying, "The cavalry has gone forth, and it was not decreed for me to go out with them. As for safety, I love that they be safe, but I dislike that they should take spoils while I am not among them." And I have seen one who is jealous over what strengthened some of the raiders, when he is not given and another is given, as a man is jealous over some of his womenfolk. And I have seen one who raided and gained no spoils, and wished he had not raided. And one is not safe, O my brother, regarding anyone who enters into a deed of the deeds of the world and the hereafter together, when the faults that spoil deeds attach to them in their work, that Satan should bring in upon them, of defects and trials, the like of this and more. So let a man beware regarding every deed he does, of the deeds of the world and the hereafter, let him watch God in it, deal with him through a pure conscience, beware of God's regard upon the corruption of his conscience, and beware of created beings' regard upon his deed. For the cleaner of latrines is nobler than this faster, and this man of prayer, and this night worshipper, and this raider who dislikes that the Muslims should gain of the spoils of the Byzantines, while he sits in his house in Baghdad loving that they take spoils from them. So beware, may God have mercy on you, of the one who is near you and to whom you have drawn near, for those who are far from you, and from whom you are far, are safe from you, and you are safe from them. Peoples will wish, tomorrow, that they had never heard with there is much of their deeds, which in the eye's view one would hope to bring their due abundant reward and lofty degrees, and they will envy whoever did not do the like of what they did, much of their good deeds, and there will appear to them from God what they did not reckon. How the servant is destroyed by acts of righteousness. It is said, they were deeds of righteousness which they used to think were their deliverers, but which were their destroyers, because of what intermingled with them of showing off, love of praise from created beings, taking up stations through acts of obedience, the establishing of prestige, love of rank, and inclination toward the reward of created beings. So when they came before God, mighty and majestic, they found that he had nullified their deeds while they did not perceive it, for they had hastened the reward of their deeds from created beings in the world, so they were disgraced, and the disgrace that is yonder abides, and they found of the reward of their deeds nothing but what the man of the mirage found, and the man of the ashes. So it is not the name of deeds that is sought, nor the adorning of their outward, but the fear of God and what draws near to him, so let there be, between the servant and every deed that distances him from the fear of God and from God, the distance of the two easts. God Most High said, relating concerning Iblis, the vile enemy, then I will come to them from before them and from behind them and on their right and on their left. So were there in the book nothing of the traits of Iblis but this, it would have behoved people to beware of him. And were you to look into most people, you would find that most of them are stricken from the side of righteousness, and from the scant care for the purifying of deeds, and from what the soul has found sweet of the love of praise from created beings. Many a people are stricken from the side of sins, except that the sign of trial in all people is different. Most people recognize only the one tried by sins, and do not recognize the one tried by righteousness, save a few of mankind, of the people of light, sagacity, discernment, physiognomy, and shrewdness. That is because the one who works with deeds of righteousness while loving its trial is more numerous than the one who fears its trial, and the one ignorant of its trial is more numerous than the one who knows its trial. And among people is one who knows the trials of deeds and their nullifiers, then caprice overcomes him, and among them is one who knows, yet his care is scant, so he grows heedless. And know that the one who works while having known the faults that spoil deeds, with whom is care for himself and his deed, and with whom is wakefulness and the removing of heedlessness, and who is, with all that, apprehensive, fearful of the faults, he barely escapes safe, except whom God protects. So how about the one who is ignorant and heedless, whom desire overcomes, and who loves the entry of the fault? The pervasiveness of trial and its danger. The world, in our time especially, has been sought from every direction, by righteousness and by sin together, as a temptation, so beware of the trial of righteousness and of sin together, lest there descend upon you what descended upon others, in the abandoning and in the seeking. So let your aspiration, in gazing into the mirror of thought, be like your aspiration toward deeds, and more than that. For it is not the appetites of sins and misdeeds, nor the appetites of foods, drinks, garments, building, mounts, marriages, gold, and silver, that are more overpowering upon their owners than the appetites of prestige, the love of leadership, the establishing of rank, the taking up of station, the acceptance of command and prohibition, the fulfilling of needs, the love of being reckoned upright among neighbors, companions, and brethren, and praise among the people of righteousness for their good deeds. You may find a man overcoming the appetite of sin, so he abandons sins and turns toward the deeds of righteousness, then he grows weak at purifying them, and the appetite of what is in them overcomes him, so he performs many good deeds with strength and capability, with severe thirst and sleeplessness, yet cannot overcome his appetite so as to purify them. So to God we belong, and to him we return, for what has descended upon us, and how great is our peril, and how heedless we are of the immense danger. Beware the deception of Satan and the caprice of your soul. Then know that I am not making you renounce the seeking of the deeds of righteousness, for every deed you do not do today, you will not find its reward tomorrow. But I caution you against the deception of Satan and the desire of your soul, the persistent enjoiner of evil. The superiority of the Qur'an over all other speech is like the superiority of God over his creation. And God Most High has said, so when you recite the Qur'an, seek refuge in God from Satan, the expelled. And he said, indeed, Satan is an enemy to you, so take him as an enemy. He only invites his party to be among the companions of the blaze. And he said, indeed, the soul is a persistent enjoiner of evil, except those upon which my Lord has mercy. Indeed, my Lord is forgiving and merciful. And he said, and thus did my soul entice me. And he said, and his soul permitted to him the murder of his brother, so he killed him and became among the losers. And he said, rather, your souls have enticed you to something, so patience is most fitting. And he said, and we have already created man and know what his soul whispers to him. And he said, and do not follow desire, as it will lead you astray from the way of God. And he said, and who is more astray than one who follows his desire without guidance from God? Indeed, God does not guide the wrongdoing people. And he said, and who follows his desire and whose affair is ever in neglect? And he said, and they denied and followed their inclinations. Together with many passages in the mention of the enmity of Iblis and the censure of the soul and caprice. Reviewing the soul. How a person knows his safety from faults. I said, I see among people things the like of which is blamed, and I love to be safe from reproach, disdain, and fault-finding, yet I do not know whether my soul is safe from it or not. He said, a person, at recognizing the fault of his own soul, is dull-witted, and at recognizing the fault of another, keen and discerning, so he belittles the fault of the people of every craft, and the people of every deed of the deeds of the world and the hereafter, and he belittles the fault of one who is of his own rank, while he reckons that grievous in everyone he sees it from. Then, when he comes upon the fault of his own soul, he passes it by toward their faults, as if he were blind to it and did not see it. And he seeks an excuse for his own soul, and does not seek it for another, so in seeking the excuse of his own soul he is keen, and in seeking the excuse of another soul, dull. And he harbors toward his companion, in that, what he would dislike that another should harbor toward him, were he to see the like of that fault from him. So when you see a fault, a lapse, or a stumble from another, set your own soul in his place, then consider what you would love that he should meet you with, were he to see from you the like of what you saw from him, and harbor that for him in your soul, for he loves from you the like of what you love from him. And likewise, when you see something admirable, then desire to know the knowledge of safety from envy of it. And it is worthier that the lightest of people upon you, at a lapse, be the one who seeks for your lapse an excuse and a way out, so when he finds no place for the excuse, it grieves him, and he conceals its whereabouts, and at your good deed he is gladdened, and if he is not gladdened, he does not grieve you. So be thus toward them, at the lapse and at the good deed. And if you are like that, then do not love the removal of a blessing God has bestowed upon anyone, in religion or in the world, and do not love that anyone persist in disobedience to God Most High, and do not love that his covering be torn from over his lapse. For if you do that with your heart, envy departs from your heart, concerning both religion and the world together. And whenever the rush toward your conscience, by an evil presence, overcomes you, then do not be overcome regarding the beholding of it by the goodness of review in all your affairs. The knowledge of safety through review and scrutiny. And know that you are preceded toward your conscience by envy, ill opinion, and rancour, so make review a binding occupation, and be ever pausing, as the first one said, the believer is one who pauses. He is not like the gatherer of firewood by night. So pause, and survey the corners of your conscience with an eye keen of sight, penetrating in vision, so when you see a praiseworthy matter, praise God and pass on, and when you see something disliked, overtake it with the goodness of review, and probe deeply into it. For the one who entered your house without your permission will hide himself in it, and if it is dark, you will not perceive it, unless there be with you a lamp of knowledge, radiant and clear, and there be with you, of care for seizing him and denial of what entered, that for which he has no endurance and no power. And had you tried it, you would know that what I tell you is as I tell you. An intruder enters your dwelling without your permission, and he is an intruder who cannot be trusted not to wreck the one he has entered upon, so if the intruder sees from you laxity and negligence, he becomes the one dwelling in the house, ordering it, taking possession of the best of your house and your sanctity, and if he sees from you a denial in which there is weakness, he hides himself, biding for your inattention and heedlessness, then, when he finds an opportunity, he wrecks for you what you had set aright and demolishes what you had built. So understand, if you understand, and accept counsel from the counselors, if you will accept. For were you to journey, on the mounts, however far you might reach in distance, and spend in that the best of your house, what you took would be more than what you spent and toiled for you will find much good in your balance on the day of resurrection, through the truthfulness of review and its promptness, before its sweetness grows cold for you, for it is a great gift of the gifts of God Most High, with which he has honored the people of his elect, and magnified the blessing upon them in it, for the greatness of the blessing is according to the measure of the need. So look, have you ever reviewed your soul and your affair without finding in it a place for repair and improvement, or finding something corrupted outright, which, had you not overtaken it with review, would have gone on to the day of resurrection? Review is the foundation of right conduct. And know that I only multiply upon you, and upon myself, the mention of review because of what has become clear to me of the dire need and necessity for it, for were you to attach to it something of the good that is in it and its worth, but otherwise, no. And your abandoning of it is nothing but being like one who is intimate with his enemy and surrenders his soul to him, so he perishes while not perceiving. And if you are negligent of what I tell you, then your greatest need for it is in the obligatory prayer, then after it, and so on in all your affairs. And were you of those who scrutinize their affair, you would know what entered upon you of remorse and regret, when review departed from you in the obligatory prayer, so that you did not know what your Imam recited, nor whether you were in an obligatory prayer or a voluntary one, in one prayer or another, while in the eye's view you are one who communes with his Lord. You inclined your ear toward your Imam, and were humble in your standing, and emptied your heart for listening to what your Imam recited of the speech of your Lord in the prayer of your obligation, than which nothing is more binding upon you. Then you returned from it, and there appeared from you what we have described, and you are like one who did not witness it, on account of the scantness of your binding it by review of your soul in it. And perhaps that which was present of it with your heart, or which you grasped and were not heedless of, were it said to you, would you love that this should be from you as you were heedless, and you have 100,000 dinars, you would say, no. So take care now to tend this review, according to the measure of what you have known of your need for it, for you have, of your lifetime, only your wakefulness, and your wakefulness is, review of what holds your benefit and your nearness, and the going toward it by the intellect, and whatever is other than. That is heedlessness and oblivion, leading to an appetite in which is the boiling of your heart, and in that is the agreement of your soul, the enjoiner of evil, and the desire that misleads from the way of God, that turns its people from the road of his love, and in that is the leaping of the vile enemy who does not stint you of mischief, who runs in you the course of the blood, who sees you, he and his tribe, from where you do not see them. Malik ibn Dinar said, the hearts of the righteous boil with the deeds of righteousness, and the hearts of the wicked boil with the deeds of wickedness. So tend your affair with review. If you find something disliked, set it aright and turn from it, and if you see otherwise, praise God, and let your care for that be an increase for you, or a means of nearness. And when you see in yourself a care for review, then know that it is a blessing and a nearness, among the greatest of the blessings of God. And the worthiest companionship you can keep well is the blessings of God, whose treasury's key is the mercy of God, so seek their increase through thankfulness for them. And the worthiest companion whose company you can keep ill is your soul, the enjoiner of evil, and being ill toward it is to oppose it, for in opposing it is the agreement with the pleasure of God. Negligence in the small leads to the great. I said, who, then, are the people of true will? He said, one who does not step over a fault or a flaw toward a voluntary work. I said, and what is the guarding of the tongue? He said, silence. I said, and what is caution in carefulness regarding speech? He said, leaving the mention of a fault of another, when you hope for reward upon mentioning it as an admonition, lest that draw you out toward mentioning a fault of another for which you fear punishment. And take yourself to this gate with the firmest grip, and bring to it, of people, whoever seeks your guidance and desires what you desire. For the servant is only stricken from the side of negligence in the small, and it is what casts one into the great sin, and negligence in the small is the foundation upon which the great is built. So its beginning was carefulness, then it became expansiveness, then it became, from expansiveness, the mention of the small, then it became, from the small, what is more than it, so you do not perceive it until you see yourself where you used to dislike seeing another. So in leaving the small is the leaving of the much and the great. And the strongest of people in that, and the truest of them in resolve, is the one who, when he resolves, carries his resolve through and does not waver, and the weakest of people in that is the weakest of them in resolve, the one who resolves, then unties his resolve, and scarcely carries any resolve through. This is the one with whom Satan, Caprice, and the soul play, who has no worth in their estimation, on account of their full knowledge of the dwindling of his resolve and the scantness of his use of it. And the people of firm resolve are the best of creation, of every rank. Nearness to repentance and distance from it. True remorse and its sign. I said, who, then, of people, is most to be hoped for in the acceptance of repentance? He said, the most intense of them in fear, the most truthful of them in remorse over what was from him, and over what God has witnessed and observed of him, of his lapse, his error, the length of his heedlessness, and the continuance of his turning away, and the best of them in carefulness regarding what is to come. And if they are equal in that, then the most striving of them indeed. For the sign of true remorse over what has passed of sins is intense carefulness regarding what remains of one's life, the leaping to obedience with diligence and striving, the reckoning of much obedience as little, and the reckoning of little blessing as much, together with tenderness of heart, its clarity and purity, abundant weeping, the continuance of sorrow in it, the entrusting of all affairs to God Most High, the disavowing to him of all power and strength, then, after that, patience. Upon the rulings of God, mighty and majestic, contentment with him in all of them, and submission to his affairs, all of them. Error on the road of repentance and its consequences. And he said to me, you have come to know whence you erred. You thought well of your soul, so it longed for the degrees of the doors of good while contradicting their conduct, without any denial from you against it for the evils of its deeds, nor any repelling of what it claimed of the deeds of the truthful. And you thought ill of others, so you placed them in the rank of revilers, in your inattention to your own affair, and you devoted yourself to gazing at the faults of others. So when that was from you in that way, you were punished by this, that the springs of pity and mercy ran dry in your heart. And there burst forth into it the rivers of coarseness and hardness, so you loved to look at people with disdain toward them, contempt and scorn for them, and scant mercy, and you desired that they look at you with magnification, awe, and mercy. So whoever of them agreed with you in that gained from you nearness and love, while you gained from God Most High distance and wrath, and whoever opposed you in it increased in distance from you and hatred, while you increased in distance from God and wrath. And you stretched out your hope in all of that, so the journey grew pleasant to you upon the road of procrastination and the descents of bewilderment, so your soul's craving intensified, greed took firm hold of your heart, and on account of that your craving for the world grew great, you became miserly, and you bolted toward its appetites, and its pleasures encircled your heart, so that came between you and your finding the sweetness of treading the road of the hereafter. So your heart is bewildered upon a way of bewilderment, the roads of salvation have grown confused for you, and the veil of sins has split open, so you grew intimate with their nearness, and the inhaling of their scent grew pleasant to you, and by that you reached the very core of disobedience, so you claimed what was not yours and reached out for what is far from the likes of you to attain. Then that brought you out to speaking for other than God, looking at what is not yours, and working for other than God, so you were deceived, given over to beasts, at the moment of your good opinion of your soul, while you did not perceive it, and led on by degrees from where you did not know, so the inheritance of your deed was vileness, crime, fraud, deceit, treachery, dissembling, the disliked, and the abandoning of sincere counsel, while you, in all of that, made a show of opposing it. So whoever has this as his conduct, let him not deny that there should appear to him, from God, what he did not reckon. Were there for you, O wretch, the least apprehension, you would weep over your soul the weeping of the bereaved mother who loved the one she lost, and you would wail over it the wailing for the dead, when the misfortune of sins overcame you. And were the people of the heavens and the people of the earth to weep over you, you would be deserving of that, on account of the greatness of your calamity. And were all creation to console you over it with the consolation of one plundered and despoiled, you would be deserving of that, for you have been deprived of your religion, stripped of your knowledge through the misfortune of sins, so the lowliness of disobedience mounted you, your name was set in the register of the disobedient, and the people of piety shunned you, except whoever is in your likeness. So those who desired God alone took to the road of love for him and trod the path of salvation to him. But you took a road other than theirs, so you inclined, when you opposed their road, toward something else, and you remained bewildered, dull to the pain of being struck. And by the like of these causes, which your way comprised, one is shown the proof of loss on the day of resurrection. In God we seek refuge, of him we ask pardon, and nearness, with the doors of good, truly he is subtle, all aware. Knowledge without action as a means to action. I said, do you not fear that this knowledge may be a proof against you? And that the preoccupation with describing it may be a long stratagem of Satan, a barring from its benefit? He said, alas for the heedlessness of the one who describes it, away from its excellencies. And alas for an archer who shot and did not miss where he aimed. As for security, it is forbidden; as for fear, it is an obligation upon whoever believes in God and the last day, and in the promise and the threat. And I have come to know that aiming at the very love itself, and care for it, is more effective for its possessor, and more in benefit for him, than describing love, for seeking the very benefit is other than seeking the description of benefit. I occupied myself with the description out of necessity, when I saw myself outside both of them together, so I devoted myself to knowing the description of it and the guidance to it, hoping that it would bring me to the very benefit and the guidance to it, and God is the one whose help is sought, in what we say and what we harbor. The summary of knowledge. And the servant is between 9 fears. The first of them, that he fear, and call upon God, and humbly beseech him, that he not consign him to his own good deeds, by which he exalts himself among the servants of God, in wrongdoing and aggression. The second, that he fear the ingratitude for blessings, over which exaltation has overcome him, so that it has distracted him from giving thanks for them. The third, the fear of being led on by degrees through blessings and their continual succession. The fourth, the fear of God, that there appear to him tomorrow, from God, what he did not reckon, in the acts of obedience whose reward he hopes for and which he did not count among his sins. The fifth, the sins he committed and was certain of, in what is between him and God Most High. The sixth, the claims of people held against him. The seventh, that he does not know what will befall him in the remainder of his life. The eighth, that he fear the hastening of punishment in the world, and exemplary chastisement therein, before death. The ninth, the fear of God's knowledge concerning him, and in which of the 2 abodes his name has been fixed in the mother of the book. So beware of sins, for their misfortune is near and their darkness severe, and beware of the good deeds that distance you from the road of the righteous, for how near is the reciter who worships without knowledge to growing arrogant over the servants of God, mighty and majestic, and to reproaching God, glory and exaltation be to him, with the good deeds which, were he to consign him to them, would be his ruin. And how near he is to demanding of people what God demanded of them, of obedience to him, mighty and majestic, of reverence, magnification, and great esteem. And one is not safe regarding the reciter who is not a man of understanding, that he should treat them ill, demand of them the acknowledgement of his excellence, and give them of himself what God demanded of him. God Most High desired of him, that he adorn himself for him, worship him, and devote his deeds sincerely to him alone, but he gave that, of himself, to created beings. Praise and blame. The difference between showing off, the love of praise, and the dislike of blame. I said, the man says, he is one who desires by his deed neither recompense nor thanks, and he is known for the deeds of righteousness, prayer, charity, fasting, and the like. Then a people praised him, and that delighted him greatly, and he rejoiced at it, and others blamed him, and that grieved him greatly, and he disliked it, until he came to know of himself the change toward both parties together. How does this one know his intention, while the love of praise and the dislike of blame are fixed in his heart? And the showy one loves commendation and dislikes blame. He said, it is not obligatory upon people that they dislike fair commendation and praise, nor is it obligatory upon them that they love blame, whether they did good deeds or did not, so long as that is not from them out of a corrupt motive. For the showy one, even if he desires the deed in order to love commendation and dislike blame, the truthful one is not obliged to dislike praise and love blame. And many of the truthful were praised and commended, and that did not harm them in anything. the difference between them is only this, that the showy one, his will and his hope in his deed are the prestige of the world and standing among its people, so he spoiled his deed by his intention and his will, whether he gained what he intended of that or not, whether they praised him for his deed or did not, whether they blamed him or did not. As for the one who is not showy, he disliked blame only for what is in it of the disliked, such as the fall from people's eyes, hatred and loathing from the believers, and the like, and fair commendation and good words he loved for the place of God's covering, and for what came of hope in fair commendation and good words, and love from people and their affection for him, and the resolve of his intention, at the first of his affair and its last, was that he desired by it nothing but the face of God alone and the abode of the hereafter, whether they praised him or blamed him, loved him or hated him. Fear of the intention changing. It may be that a man's conviction at the time of his deed is the desire for the hereafter, and then it shifts, little by little, toward the desire for the world. That is because it is a hidden thing, the common folk have little knowledge of it and little care for it, and their heedlessness and inattention to it are great. Yet it would have behoved that the believer's care for that be greater than his care for what he does of outward deeds, for the deeds of the limbs he cannot overturn or change from their state, while the intention is not safe from corruption, even if it is truthful and sound, that it should shift from the best it was upon to the ugliest it can be upon, and the most ruinous to the deed of its possessor. The Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, has said, deeds are by intention, and to every person belongs only what he intended. So deeds come to be by intention, and from intention, the servant is more in need of knowing intention and of knowing its corruption, since deeds are made sound only by its soundness and are corrupted by its corruption, and all that we mention is only a description of the deed, while for the reality and the soundness there are signs other than this. And deeds, all of them, are of two kinds, a deed in which intention is possible, and a deed in which intention is not possible. The deed done for other than obedience to God, or upon other than the way of the messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him peace, intention is not possible in it. And the one in which intention is possible is a deed in obedience to God, upon the path and the way. People in it are of two kinds, a kind who know intention, and a kind who do not. And those who know it are of two kinds, a kind whom looking into it satisfies with guesswork and wishes, and a kind who do not trust their souls with it, and care only for what is sound for them of that at the scale, and that is the trial of your soul. The necessity of precision in watching the heart. Among people is one who reckons that he dislikes praise and commendation out of apprehension for his deed and fear of its trial, so let him not heed what is imagined to him of that and what he supposes, for the abundance of what people suppose of that is not as they suppose, until they look into the verification of its truth at the time of clarity. So let the servant review his soul when he is praised or commended, or when they blame him or attribute to him what he dislikes. If what pleased him of the commendation and praise pleased him only for the meaning we mentioned, of God's covering, and the hope in fair commendation and good words, like his saying Most High, and I bestowed upon you love from me, and we gave him his reward in this world, he said, the commendation, and he said, and we gave him good in this world, he said, fair commendation, and his saying, and grant me a reputation of honor among later generations, he said, fair commendation. And the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said concerning the man who does the deed desiring by it the face of God, and people praise him for it and commend him, that is the early glad tidings of the believer. And his saying concerning the servant when God loves him, he does not take him out of the world until he fills his ears with what he loves. And his saying, you are the witnesses of God upon the earth. And the like of that is in the book and the sunnah. So if his joy at what he was mentioned with of good was thankfulness for God's covering of him, and praise from him to God, since God, mighty and majestic, made him of those mentioned with the sign of good, then that is not a corrupt joy, but thankfulness and the seeking of increase. And the sign of the soundness of his intention in that is, that he increase in humility before God, in thankfulness for his bounties, and in striving in his obedience. Yet with that he ought to return his soul to the road of fear of being led on by degrees, and that what is hidden of his deed be more beloved to him than what is shown, in dread of what befalls the people of righteousness of trial in what they hear of commendation and praise, and for what came of prohibition, dislike, self-purifying, and praise, that one's companion should hear it. And that is like his saying, may God bless him and grant him peace, whoever praises his brother to his face, it is as if he passed a sharp razor over his throat. And like his saying, peace be upon him, had he heard you, he would not have prospered. And like his saying, "You have hamstrung the man, may God hamstring you." And the like of this is much. So if his way and his intention are thankfulness to God for his covering, and praise to God for his blessing, and what comes first of joy to his heart, when he hears commendation of himself, is the hope of being a model, when he is one fit to be followed, on account of the saying of God, mighty and majestic, and make us an example for the righteous, he says, leaders in good, to be emulated. If he is like that, I hope it will not harm him, nor spoil his deed for him. It was related of Mutarif that he said, I never heard praise or commendation but that my soul grew small in my eyes. And Ziyad ibn Abi Muslim said, there is none who hears praise or commendation but that a devil shows himself to him, but the believer reviews himself. So Ibn al-Mubarak said, both spoke the truth. As for what Ziyad mentioned, that is the heart of the common folk, and as for what Mutarif mentioned, that is the heart of the elect. And if his way and his intention, when he hears that and is gladdened by it, are the seeking of elevation and standing among people, then how evil is his state in the nullification of his deed. The way of the righteous and of the people of showing off in praise and blame. As for the showy one, he is the one whose way and intention, at the first of his deed and at its last, are the seeking of commendation and praise, elevation and honor among people, and the gaining of benefits thereby, that is the one to whom came woe and ruin in the world and the hereafter. But if he knows, with a true knowledge, that what pleased him for this acceptable meaning, and that it did not please him for what he gained of prestige with them, then there is no blame upon him. And his sign is that he increase in humility, generate fear of being led on by degrees, and that what is hidden of his deed is more beloved to him than what he shows, for he coveted the way of the righteous, so according to that measure he ought to desire their deeds, and what they attained the name of righteousness by, and became of its people, together with what is incumbent upon him of the fear of trial that is incumbent upon the people of commendation and praise when they are praised or commended, like his saying, peace be upon him, you have hamstrung the man. And like his saying, had he heard you, he would not have prospered. And his saying, you have cut the neck of your brother. And his saying, beware of praise, for it is slaughter. And his saying, when you see the flatterers, throw dust in their faces. And his saying, were a man to walk toward another with a sharp knife, it would be better for him than to praise him to his face. And the like of this is much. And the one praised, fear for him is greater than hope, because fear does not harm him, while hope, its trial is not safe. And the sign of the people of prestige in the world, and the people of showing off who love that, is, that when they hear commendation and praise, they love it, increase in pride and self-admiration, and in heedlessness of being led on by degrees, go to excess and indulge in wishes, and covet that what appeared of their deeds be more beloved to them than what was hidden, and they did not fear any trial nor any fault. And likewise, when he disliked blame, he disliked it only because he loved that in its place there be commendation and praise, to attain thereby prestige, rank, standing, and elevation among people, so it is a sick, blameworthy dislike, and its possessor is deluded and deceived. But if it is only a love from him for God's covering of him, and a dislike of the tearing of the covering from over him, because people did not loathe him until the loathing came to him from God before the loathing of people, if the dislike is from this side, then this is disliked by the truthful and the untruthful alike, so there is no blame upon him for it. And its sign is, humble entreaty, lowliness, review, and looking into deliverance toward the road of the love of God Most High, the path of uprightness, the clear way of faith, and earnestness in it. Further clarification of the relations of the two groups. And clearer than that, everyone who claims that he desires by his deed the face of God, and does not desire from anyone any recompense or thanks for a deed he does of the righteous deeds, then people come to know him by his deed, mention him for it, and he becomes well known among them and gains elevation from them, if he knows of himself that, were it presented to him that his name, and what he gained by his deed of commendation and praise from people, should transfer to another, while he himself remained among people like one who has no deed known of him of the deeds of righteousness, neither remembrance nor anything else, and this were more beloved to him, then his affair is to be hoped for. But if he disliked that the remembrance he was upon should transfer to another, while he remained like one who has no deed known of him of the deeds of righteousness, then his claim is, at that point, false. For the one who says, I desire it by my deed and desire nothing else, when his remembrance transferred to another, the one for whom he did the deed did not transfer the reward to another, nor diminish him of his reward anything, rather, perhaps it would be greater for him with him, and a nearer abode. And the one who claimed that he did not desire them by it disliked that the name should depart from him by which standing was established for him with them, and disliked to remain before the one whom he claimed he did not desire, with no mention of a deed by which they know him. The like of this is to be considered, if he had a quality, among people, of the qualities of righteousness, and they ascribed it to him, supposing him to be its possessor, in error from them and in ignorance, and he disliked that they should come to know that, or be informed of it, and disliked that they should know that he is not of those who act by that quality. Or he has a deed of righteousness, and people suppose that what he does of righteousness is more, so he dislikes that people be informed of it, and does not care for the love of his soul at what he does of the deeds of righteousness, for he is of those who love to be praised for what they do. And it is not possible for anyone to love being praised for what he did not do, while not loving being praised for what he did, until he loves them both together. Likewise, if he kept company with a man known among people for righteousness and worship, or who had some cause by which he gained a remembrance from another, and he disliked that this should fall among people, and did not care for the love of his soul at what he does of the deeds of righteousness, for he is of those who love to be praised for their attachment to another, it is not possible to love remembrance by another's deed while not loving to be mentioned for one's own deed that one does, until he loves them both together. So if he finds his soul, in these positions, truthful in what he ought to be truthful about, then I hope he is of the people of truthfulness, God willing. Certainty and pride. The truthfulness of certainty. As for certainty, it is at the time of the deed, and the truthfulness in it is the witnessing of reward and punishment. It is not by abundance of spending, nor by abundance of speech, nor does it need the moving of the two lips, but by faith, by intellect, by knowledge, and by good management, in the outward of the servant's affair and its inward. So you come to know truthfulness, and you come to know its opposite, falsehood, and you come to know good, and you come to know its opposite, evil. So you work at the affirming of truthfulness and the negating of its opposite, and you learn the root from the branch, so the occupation becomes the affirming of truthfulness by way of the root, and the negating of its opposite by way of the root, for the root comes upon the branches. And so long as the servant occupies himself with the branch, away from the root, his occupation has no end. So long as the root remains, whenever a branch goes, another succeeds in its place. Pride in the soul is the root of the heart's disease. The love of pride is a root, from it is the outlet of the love of leadership and prestige among people, from it are arrogance and boasting, from it are anger and envy, from it are rancor, partisanship, and bigotry. The soul is enamored of it, and it is the delight of its eye, more beloved to it than a single mother to her only child. And it has reached me that it is the last thing remaining in the hearts of those who abandon the world for the hereafter, on account of the difficulty of its taking root in the soul. So the righteous deed, from one who is not the firm-willed seeker among the people of recitation, is the weapon by which its dominion is strengthened, pride in the soul, boasting in the deed, and disdain toward people. And we have seen one who does the deeds of the righteous, of prayer, fasting, charity, pilgrimage, and striving. And his pride in his soul is increased. Yes, and we have seen one who shows humility out of greed for an increase in pride. And I do not know that I have seen anyone of the people of devotion empty of it, I mean, of pride. If he finds the sweetness of its taste lasting, he does not prosper with it, whether worshipper or ascetic. And how can he be an ascetic, while asceticism does not dwell with it in a single abode? So whoever treats the removal of pride from his soul, and God grants him success in that so that he attains its removal, the journey is made easy for him upon the road of the love of God, mighty and majestic, the clear way of faith, the path of uprightness, and the ascents of the righteous, and the labor of truthfulness in his deed is made light for him, his soul is set at peace with lowliness and humility, and the road of justice grows pleasant to him. For he cannot love for people what he loves for himself while pride is in him, he cannot restrain rage while pride is in him, he cannot accept the truth while pride is in him, he cannot show the humility that is the honor of piety and its adornment while pride is in him, he cannot persist upon truthfulness while pride is in him, he cannot abandon envy while pride is in him, he cannot abandon rancor while pride is in him, he cannot abandon bigotry while pride is in him, he cannot have soundness of heart while pride is in him, he cannot give sincere counsel while pride is in him, and he is not safe from disdaining people while pride is in him. So how abundant is its harm, how great its corruption, how manifest its affair, how scant its right guidance, how clear its error to the elect and the common, and how heedless people are of it, how scant their knowledge of it, and how intense their following of it. For desire is its ruling, arrogance is its brother and its support, tyranny is its conduct, anger is its authority, showing off is one of its helpers, it earns and to it the gain returns, self-admiration is its weakest helper, envy is the commander of its armies, and rancour is the companion of its counsel. And the messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, arrogance and envy consume good deeds as fire consumes firewood. And some of them said, rancour and envy. Pride is general in creation, and particular among the reciters. Pride in creation is general, in slaves and slave women, the poor and the rich, the weak and the strong, the reciters and the scholars, and each of them shows of it according to what he is able to show, and whoever is not able to show it deals with people by it secretly within his soul, for so long as it is in a person he does not relinquish his portion of it, neither in secret nor openly. Do you not see how he rages within his soul against another, how he envies him, circles about him seeking his faults, and how he judges concerning him by the ruling of desire? And were he to possess of that, outwardly, what he possesses inwardly, he would display the like of what he concealed of it inwardly. And the most hideous of its affair, the most ruinous, and the most disgraceful, is when it is in the reciter, for he scarcely exalts himself over another by any cause except by the causes of religion, otherwise you would see in him the trace of that. Glory be to God! What do the reciters in particular meet from pride and from its helpers? What points you to that is the swiftness of their answer, the abundance of their anger for themselves by way of seeking their own elevation, and what they hold against people in matters of no worth. All of that is from the disease of pride and its movement, a matter that was not permitted to the people of paradise, nor to the angels, nor to the prophets, yet the reciter desires to permit it to himself and to set it above his head. It would only have behoved the truthful one in his recitation to work at extinguishing pride from his heart from the first of his affair, and to set it beneath his feet. Were a man to pray the dawn prayer, then turn upon his soul and set right one quality of the qualities of pride, not the whole of pride, while another gave in charity the weight of his soul in gold to hungry bellies from a wholesome source, the first would be more enviable, the blessing upon him greater, and the thankfulness due upon him more, in the estimation of the people of knowledge and learning. So how about one who rises in the morning having no aspiration but care for pride for his soul, for the sake of his experience of it and his knowledge of it? And another rises having no aspiration and no love but the care for the removal of pride from his heart, and adherence to humility, and the lowliness of the soul, for the sake of his experience of the light of humility and his knowledge of its benefits. So happy is the one whose occupation is the like of his occupation. What a beneficial occupation, how pleasing to his master, and how restful to the heart! So take a lesson from two men commanded with servitude, one of them loved to make his soul a servant as he was commanded, and the other loved to make his soul a king. Which of these two is worthier of the reward from the master, and which of them deserves the painful punishment? The means of treating pride. I said, you have described of the corruption of pride, its harm, and its evil what you have described, so describe for me the road of guarding against it and abstaining from it, for the sick man, when he knows his disease, loves to know its remedy, and likewise whoever loves to know the fault of his soul loves to know that by which his fault is set right. He said, the son of Adam took it upon himself to bring down the birds from the air of the sky, and he brought them down. And he took it upon himself to bring the fish out of the depths of the sea, and he brought it out. And he took it upon himself to extract gold and silver from the belly of the earth, and he extracted them. And he took it upon himself to take the beasts, the cattle, the wild animals, and the predators from the deserts and the thickets, and he took them, subdued them, and harnessed them. And he took it upon himself to take the vipers and the serpents, and he took them. And he took it upon himself to handle the Satans, and he handled them. And he took it upon himself the knowledge of the stars in the sky, their names, their courses, their risings, and their settings, and he took it upon himself the mansions of the sun and the moon, their courses, their risings, and their settings. And he took it upon himself to know the lineage of a child when it was not from its father, and he knew all of that by what he undertook. And he took it upon himself the illness of the sick and the causes of his maladies, by looking at his urine without looking at him, so he knew his disease and knew its remedy, he knew all of that. And he took it upon himself to learn the conduct of the past kings of the earliest ages, so he recorded it and studied it. And all that he undertook, he only carried his soul to undertake for the seeking of increase from the world, and there is nothing in this of the matter of his religion with which he was charged. And he was charged with the rectifying of a single soul, and he did not perform its rectifying, while there is nothing upon him of the corruption of another. He was charged only with the setting right of the corruption of his own soul alone, and he did not perform the setting right of its corruption. So he was ignorant of part of the rectitude and knew part. What he was ignorant of, he remains ignorant of, not taking the trouble to know it, and what he knew of its corruption, he is squandering as to setting it right. And no one was charged to fast, to pray, to give alms, to make pilgrimage, to perform ablution, or to bathe on behalf of another. He was charged only with his own soul. The soundness of another is nothing for anyone. The rectitude of each person and his piety is for his own soul, and in his own balance, there is nothing of it in another's balance. And likewise the intention in deeds, my intention does not benefit your deed, nor does your intention benefit my deed, if it is sound, nor does it harm it if it is sick. Rather, the benefit and the harm are upon the owner of the intention and the owner of the deed, and it is but a single soul. So when it comes to the matter of its own self, it does not know its good from its evil, nor its advance from its retreat. He does good, not knowing whether he is, in it, advancing or retreating, except by the outward of the deed and the claim. He does not know what thing he does for the world or for the hereafter. He does not distinguish between the two matters, nor scrutinize the aspiration in it and the love for it, nor the awe in it, nor does he pause, nor is he good at surveying his conscience, so he spoils the good with evil and does not perceive it. He is, in his outward, advancing, and in his inward, retreating. He is, in his outward, fleeing toward God, and in his inward, fleeing from God. Glory be to God! What did the wretch take upon himself of the knowledge of what he was not charged with, occupying his care with it and his understanding with it, while that which he was ignorant of and squandered of its knowledge is what he was charged with, and over which covenants were taken from him? Evil and corruption enter upon him, and he does not know whence it entered, nor how it came to him, nor how it is, nor the road to deliverance from it, so he remains, at that, lost and bewildered. He had treated what is in the air, and what is in the depths of the seas. He came to know it because he occupied his care with it, for the sake of his world, of which God has already guaranteed him what he apportioned for him and guaranteed him its fulfillment, whether he turned toward it or away from it. So creation overcame the wretch, and his own soul overcame him, and had he cared to know the corruption of his soul and its rectitude, its good and its evil, and feared ruin for it, as he cared to know what we mentioned of the matter of his guaranteed world, he would have known of its corruption and its rectitude the like of what he knew of that, and would have had power over it as he had power over that, but he was content to travel the road of religion in ignorance, while he was not content to travel the road of the world except with knowledge and insight, and whenever you wish, you see him on the road of the world while supposing himself to be on the road of the hereafter. And along with that, some of those who turn away from God Most High, who shun him, have named themselves scholars and set themselves up to guide to God, while they are bewildered pretenders, defective imitators, whom the ignorant supposes to be guides, while they are blind and bewildered. So to God we belong, and to him we return. And know that pride and self-glorification are not something absent, coming upon you, that you would seek to guard against and to ward off. Rather it is something that has already alighted in you, settled, taken firm hold of the dwelling, made itself at home, and sat in the place of honor of the assembly. It has taken your good from you, overpowered the best place in you, leaned upon a cushion, and employed its helpers in what agrees with its desire, in their coming and going. And I will not multiply upon you the descriptions of the branches of its remedy, lest you weary and turn away, but I will point you to the root which, when you treat it, comes upon all the branches, and it is, despair of all created beings, that they should harm or benefit, give or withhold, give life or cause death. So bind it upon your heart, for it is the root of roots, the head of the matter and its summit. So if you are a truthful seeker who loves to look into the consequences of affairs, then close upon your soul the door of greed, open for it the door of despair, devote yourself to that with all your will, and strip yourself bare in seeking it, like one who has, of all the needs of the world, only a single need. And resolve a sound resolve to give your soul to God in the remainder of your life, if you see yourself fit for that. Glory be to him, and exalted is he, how rich he is, beyond the people of the heavens and the people of the earths, and how intense is their need of him. So make yourself, O my brother, like a captive in the hands of the people of your time, throughout the days of your life, in following the pleasure of God, mighty and majestic, and in deliverance from the affliction of pride, for the captive is an owned slave who owns nothing, who does not covet to wrong anyone, nor to take revenge upon any wrongdo. Then you will find the sweetness of the taste of God's remembrance, and the delight of intimate discourse in the worship of God. And I only said to you, the extraction of pride and the cutting of it off from your heart by despair of people, because it returns you to God, and your returning to God is the settling of your heart upon Him, and in the settling of your heart upon Him is the increase of His obedience, and the arrival at the special quality of His worship. And in the arrival at the special quality of His worship is the descent to the rank of the slaves. And in the descent to the rank of the slaves is the attainment of the honor of servitude. And from the attainment of the honor of servitude is the earning by the heart of lowliness before God, mighty and majestic. So He gave you honor through His obedience, and you became humble before Him, so He honored you through His worship. God, mighty and majestic, said, and to God belongs all honor, and to His messenger, and to the believers. And He said, concerning the blameworthy kind of pride, thus does God seal over every heart belonging to an arrogant tyrant. I said, and how is one to distinguish between the two mights? He said, as for the blameworthy of them, it recoils from the obedience of God, and the praiseworthy of them increases you in lowliness in the obedience of God, mighty and majestic. And know that the matter, when it reaches the utmost in narrowness, opens up, and it is but the cutting of greed and the employing of despair. For then you have come to be in the valley of repose, ease, and joy, and you delight, with the people of these ranks, in the remembrance of God, the savouring of the sweetness of intimate discourse, and weeping out of awe of Him. You have tasted the sweetness of certainty, the joy of contentment, the ease of entrustment, and the lightness of its burden. Then you come to look at the one who is tormented and wanders in the dominion of pride and its kingdom. So happy are you then. You rise in the morning and the evening having no care nor sorrow except in what you are coming upon of the matter of your hereafter, and God looks at your aspiration and your will in one valley, while people are in another valley. Good and evil. The understanding of experience and care for the soul. And know that whoever is of the people of care for his soul, and is granted the understanding of experience, attains the knowledge of good and evil, and comes to know whence and how, and crosses over, describes, understands, grasps, speaks with wisdom, and what he hears of admonition is an increase for him in his understanding, his knowledge, his describing, the fine points of his discernment, and the secret of his need. And whoever is of the people of care, but is not granted the understanding of experience, comes to know of the knowledge of good and evil according to the measure of his care, and describes its description and expression, and whence and how, but is weak at speaking with wisdom, and admonition is for him an increase in the knowledge of his good and his evil. And whoever is granted neither understanding nor has care, he neither speaks with his tongue at the time of speech, nor comprehends with his heart at the time of hearing. And it is related that wisdom says, whoever seeks me and is not able to attain me, let him act by the best of what he knows, and leave the worst of what he knows. Wisdom and scrutiny. He said, matters differ in their benefits, and their harms differ. The benefit of some of them is greater than others, and the harm of some of them is greater than others, and we find most people whose care is only for the setting right of what is less harmful, so they are, in the setting right of that, more than in the setting right of what is more harmful, and their seeking of what is less beneficial is more than their seeking of what is more beneficial. And some matters, their abandonment is harder upon the servant than others, and the man of will ought not to err in this, but should scrutinize all his affairs with intense scrutiny, with care, the deep diving of understanding, and the fine points of sagacity, until he knows what is harder upon him to abandon, and knows what is safer for him and more beneficial for him, so that he sets his earnestness, his diligence, his knowledge, his understanding, his shrewdness, his care, and his sagacity upon what is harder for him to abandon and more harmful upon him. And people in that are different. Many a man finds it light to abandon a thing that is hard upon another, and finds it hard to abandon a thing that another finds light to abandon, and one thing is hard upon him to seek that is light upon another, and another is light upon him to seek that is hard upon another, because there was made beloved to this one, of things, what was not made beloved to another, and there was made hateful to him, of things, what was not made hateful to another. And it may be that two matters are both harmful, one of them more harmful than the other, while the burden of abandoning it is not harder upon its owner than the abandoning of the other, but knowledge falls short of the servant from the good grasp of it and gentleness in it, so for what is harder upon him to abandon, while less harmful, he is stronger and more able to abandon, than for what is more harmful and lighter upon him to abandon. and over that he is weaker and more incapable. And none knows this but one who turns affairs over, and scrutinizes them with scrutiny, so he looks into this by which he is stricken, what is its cause? Then, when he does not see upon his soul, in abandoning that cause, any great burden, he says, I will not abandon this, but I will abandon this which is harder upon my soul to abandon, for the corruption of this matter which he resolved to abandon, though it be harder upon him, is not like the corruption of this matter which he did not resolve to abandon. Heedlessness and Wakefulness. The characteristics of heedlessness and wakefulness. I said, what is it that has held the elect and the common back from what is more harmful to them and harder upon them? He said, I have told you that people in it are different. Many a thing is safer than another, and many a thing is more harmful to them than another. As for me, I do not know a quality more prevalent among people, more overpowering upon them, more harmful, and harder upon them to abandon, upon the elect and the common, the scholar, the student, and the ignorant, than heedlessness. And the most intense of heedlessness is that of which you are heedless and ignorant. And the most severe of that upon people, and the most prevalent in my view among them, is self-admiration. Look, do you see anyone who is, in his own estimation, ignorant in the matter of the hereafter and the matter of the world? Look, do you see anyone who undertakes a thing he does not know, which is not his craft, without saying, I am knowledgeable in it? This ignorant, deluded one, claiming knowledge of the hereafter, was only stricken by the scantness of the worth of the hereafter in his heart, and the scantness of his magnifying of the sacred limits of God, mighty and majestic. And look, do you see anyone, in the estimation of this heedless, deluded, ignorant one, more elevated in his own estimation than himself, and more knowledgeable than himself? So that he would acknowledge that against his own soul, except for what he finds no escape from and cannot repel? Heedlessness and wakefulness. I said, what, then, do you hope to be the most beneficial and rectifying for them? He said, wakefulness is the root of all good, just as heedlessness is the root of all evil. So how many a one is, in his own estimation, awake, while he is heedless? And how beloved to him is the disregarding of wakefulness, and his intimacy with heedlessness. And know that the clearest of the signs of wakefulness are concern and sorrow, then good preparation for that over which he is concerned and sorrowful. And the clearest of the signs of heedlessness are exaltation and frivolity, for they both cause forgetting and the neglecting of wakefulness, and in the neglecting of wakefulness is the neglecting of preparation for what is after death. I said, what is wakefulness? And what is heedlessness? He said, wakefulness is the bringing near of the appointed term, the watching for death, and reflection upon what the servant comes to after death. And from this the door of deeds is opened for you, so you hasten to it before death hastens to you, and you seize each hour of your life before the appointed term is spent. So if the servant is granted constancy in it, the springs of good well up from that, God willing, mighty and majestic. As for heedlessness, it is the lengthening of hope, and the forgetting of the remembrance of the return, except in passing, with no constancy of the servant upon it. And the servant does not persist upon it except that he casts good behind his back. And from it is born procrastination, and the falling into the sea of sins. How one gains strength for wakefulness and the abandoning of heedlessness. I said, is there anything that would strengthen me for wakefulness and the abandoning of heedlessness? He said, yes, sincerity in supplication, the keeping company of one who desires what you desire, and the parting from one who does not desire what you desire. For the company of one who does not desire what you desire harms you while you do not perceive it, and the company of one who desires what you desire benefits you and does not harm you, even if you do not perceive it. And people are only stricken from three things, from heedlessness, from being overpowered, and from ignorance. Many a man has all three qualities gathered in him, and if you said, I do not know whom I would acquit of them, you would be truthful. He said, be of those who are loved for good and who love it, and do not be of those who desire to be loved for good. He said, everything in which there is no benefit and no advantage, intention is not possible in it, and everything in which there is benefit and advantage is not permitted except by intention. He said, I marvel at one whose intention is weak in his good deeds and sound in his appetites. And that is so only with the deceived, upon whom illusion has been cast, or the deceivers who cast illusion. He said, whoever sets right two qualities, his affairs, all of them, are made firm. Whoever sets right why and why not, he says, why did I not act? And why did I act? And why do I not act? And whoever squanders or is ignorant, then according to that. He said, set apart from your character 8 qualities: affectation in word and deed, contention, dissembling, crime, deceit, trickery, jesting, and rage. He said, disregarding what God dislikes is a hardness in the heart, and in the hardness of the heart is the going of the sweetness of deeds, and in the going of the sweetness of deeds is the scantness of acts of obedience, and in the scantness of acts of obedience is the scantness of thankfulness, and in the abandoning of thankfulness is the spoiling of what you did, the deprivation of what you sought, and the cutting off of increase. He said, you are in a time in which the safest of people is the one who is hungry, estranged from people, sorrowful, and full of concern. He said, hunger breaks the soul, and satiety stirs up exultation, and in hunger is the strength of concern and sorrow, and in concern and sorrow is strength for hunger, and concern and sorrow cut off appetite and craving. He said, man is a warrior against squandering, accustomed to transgression, infatuated with procrastination, molded upon weariness and forgetfulness. He is described by the lack of resolve, imprinted upon hope, marked by anxiety at hardship and by scant thankfulness at blessing, addicted to deception and self-delusion. He said, your knowledge of your fault and the fault of another are alike. So whoever does not know the fault of another knows the fault of his own soul. When there appears to you, of the faults of people, what is hidden from you of your fault, you take the faults of people as proof of your fault. And when there appears to you, of your fault, what is hidden from you the like of it of the faults of others, then do not pin that upon another. Until there appears to you from him the like of what appeared to you from your own soul, and spy upon it, scrutinize it, halt it, call it to account, take it to the discharge of what is upon it with the firmest grip, and do not seek that from any other than it. So when something appears to you from another, and the seeking of an excuse for it is possible, then seek it, but as for your own soul, do not seek for it an excuse. And if it makes an excuse, do not accept it from it. Sincerity and Showing-off. He said, the deeds of righteousness are all of 2 kinds, secret and open. So whoever is not able to set right the secret in what he does in secret will be farther from setting right what he does openly, and whoever is strong at setting it right openly will be stronger in what he keeps secret of his deeds. And likewise in the little and the much, whoever is not able to set right the intention in the little of the deed will be farther from it in the much. He said, showing off is of 2 kinds, a man who did deeds of righteousness, and gained by them praise, prestige, and rank, while he desires sincerity in what is to come of deeds. So whoever is not able to abandon showing off in what is to come will be farther, in what he did and gained by it of prestige, rank, and commendation from people, from sincerity. And likewise in everything, the abandoning of what you do not yet possess is easier than the abandoning of what you already possess. Intention between truthfulness and heedlessness. I said, who, then, of people, is worthiest of the truthfulness of intention? He said, the most intense of them in love for it. I said, who, then, of people, is farthest from the truthfulness of intention? He said, the most renouncing of it, and the most renouncing of the renouncers of it are the most forgetful of it, and the most forgetful of people of it are the most ignorant of it. He said, the first of the signs of showing off is, the man's contentment with ignorance of the truthfulness of intention in his deeds. And the first of the signs of the man's truthfulness is, his care to know the truthfulness of intention and the sincerity of the deed. And the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, the deed is by intention. And he said, the most fearful of what I fear for you is the hidden appetite. So what ails the servant? He learns how to act, bears the burden of the deed, and acts by what he has come to know, yet does not learn how to intend. So he learns of knowledge what he acts by, and what he does not act by, but does not learn the truthfulness of intention, neither in what he acts by nor in what he does not act by. He lives as long as he lives, and dies when he dies, and was not alerted to that. And the messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, and after him the imams and the people of knowledge and understanding, warn against showing off, until one of them said, I enter the dark house and pray in it 2 units of prayer, that perhaps it may be made sincere for me. And al-Thawri said, I never used to count any deed that people saw. And were we to write in this book the like of this, we would need many volumes. So the one who has come to know of showing off what another is ignorant of, and has cared about it and concerned himself with it night and day, perhaps what he is deceived in and overcome by is more than what he attains of what he intends. So how about the one ignorant of it, turning away from it? Many a man does a deed, and he reckons that he is truthful in it, yet his truthfulness in his claim of truthfulness is not made clear except after 10 years, and if you wish, say 50 years, for the 10, the 1, the 50, and the 100 are but one. I said, like what thing? For you have come with a momentous statement. He said, like the man who gives charity to another, or a kindness he confers upon him, and claims that he intended by that the face of God and desired by it neither recompense nor thanks, then there arises for him, or for another, before the one to whom the kindness was shown, a need, so he fulfills the need of one other than the one to whom he had shown the kindness or given the charity, and does not fulfill his need. Then he recalls his charity to him within himself, and finds fault with him. Since he did not fulfill his need, and fulfilled the need of one to whom he had not given charity and to whom he had shown no kindness. So his truthfulness at that time is distinguished from his falsehood, and that may be after he did the kindness by a span of time. Or a man may be a man of worship for 50 years, reckoning that he is truthful in it, desiring by it neither recompense nor thanks, in his secret nor in his open. Then a circumstance arises, and they write down the names of the righteous of the place he is in, and its worshippers, but do not write his name among them, or write it among the last of them, and put forward one who was not his like in worship, so he denies that within himself, and finds fault, since they did not place him among the first of them, so there is distinguished at that point his truthfulness from his falsehood in his worship. For had he been truthful, he would not have found fault within himself, nor denied what they did, and would have counted it among the great blessings of God upon him. So in this and the like of this is a sign that he desired by it recompense and thanks. And every deed that its owner did not alert himself to, did not test, did not examine, and did not scrutinize, is ambiguous, and the ambiguous is not made clear in its reality except at the time of trial. And people are called to account according to the measure of their knowledge and their ignorance, of what is for them and against them, and according to the measure of what they were commanded with and forbidden from. The sciences of salvation. The sum of what knowledge is obligatory. And 3 gates of knowledge are incumbent upon people to know, what is hidden of them and what is apparent, 2 gates concerning what is between them and God Most High, and 1 gate between them and people. As for what is between them and people, it is sincere counsel, on account of the saying of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace. Religion is sincere counsel, in what is hidden of things and what is apparent, the little and the much, for the near and the far, the enemy and the friend. And what is between them and God Most High is, the gate of intention and its setting aright, and the will in deeds, in what is hidden and what is apparent, the little and the much, on account of the saying of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, deeds are by intention. And the second gate, a person's knowledge of his own soul. The reality of sincere counsel. As for the gate of sincere counsel, it is that his intention, his conduct, and his way, in secret and in open, be such that, were the affairs of the whole community to be conducted according to what is in his conscience and his inner being, he would love that their affairs be rightly guided, that they obey their Lord, and that each one of them attain his portion of truth and justice. So if this is his conduct in his private life, and this is his intention concerning the generality, I hope that he is in every lofty matter, and a great blessing, the measure of which none knows but God Most High. But if his conduct in his private and his general life contradicts this description, then he has no portion in sincere counsel, particular or general, and what he claims that he harbors and intends in his inner being of counsel to the elect and the common is rejected back upon him, not accepted from him. And we do not know, among the gates of knowledge, a saying more comprehensive of all things than this saying, which is his saying, may God bless him and grant him peace. Religion is sincere counsel, nor anything nearer, nor more to the point, nor more excellent among all the deeds of righteousness, nor more closely followed of the road of the righteous than this saying, nor anything more prudent in truth and justice, nor more pleasing to the elect and the common, and it is, that you love for people what you love for yourself, and dislike for people what you dislike for it. And sincere counsel, its root is of the works of the heart, and its branch is of the works of the limbs, so it may run by the heart, and it may run only by the tongue, and it may run only by the heart, the tongue, and the limbs. Indispensable disciplines. He said, a thing overcomes a thing, and a thing distracts from a thing, and a thing causes a thing to be forgotten, and a thing stirs up a thing, and a thing increases a thing, and the one who calls his soul to account has come to know this. The least of it is wakefulness, and the highest of it is forgetfulness. And know that evil is an appetite, and good is a dislike, and appetite precedes dislike and overcomes it, until knowledge and truthfulness come and remove the appetite, and set dislike in its place. So whoever does not understand and grasp this when he hears it does not sense the reviewing of his conscience, nor does he come to set it aright until he learns it from one who is good at it and good at describing it. And were it not for the length of the discourse upon it, we would have written it down. He said, "How excellent are the two companions, concern and sorrow over the matter of the hereafter, and how excellent an occupation is self-reckoning. The man of concern, sorrow, and self-reckoning makes the hour in which there is no concern, no sorrow, and no self-reckoning an hour of idleness, and the least of the little of heedlessness, with him, is like the most of sins with another. And of the signs of certainty in the servant is the continuance of sorrow within him. O my brother, were the servant to grieve only over what will come, in the deeds to come, of coarseness, inattention, heedlessness, and scant truthfulness in his obligatory and voluntary acts, the like of what he has already done, and over what he finds in them of scant shame and watchfulness, he would be worthy to grieve and to be concerned. And were he to grieve and be concerned only because, were he to come with deeds like the deeds of the angels, the jinn, mankind, and all the worlds, he would have no knowledge in that whether it is among the accepted or among the rejected, and does not know whether there will be accepted of all of that the weight of a mote or it will be returned upon him, then it would have behoved him to grieve. And were he to grieve only because, were it said to him, choose of your lifetime whatever are you wish in which you did not disobey God for any cause, he would not find that, then it would have behoved him to grieve. And were he to grieve only because, were it said to him, do you know a single hour of your lifetime in which you rendered to God, glory be to him, all that he made obligatory upon you as he made it obligatory, he would say, I do not know it, then it would have behoved him to grieve. Self-examination. The soul and testing it in knowledge and conduct. I said, tell me, how am I to call my soul to account in knowing it? He said, things are known by their indications, signs, and likenesses. I will strike for you in that a likeness that will be knowledge for what you asked about. The likeness of people, in their generality and in their dispersal after coming to know them and gaining experience of them, in their differences and their distinctions, is like a chest set down by a road, in which are flasks filled and sealed at the heads, people pass by it not knowing what is in it. Then there came to it, of the people, a passer-by, and he said, I will uncover this chest and look at what is in it. So he uncovered it and saw flasks filled, not knowing what is in them, so he untied their seals, all of them, and there appeared to him, from this one, the scent of musk, from this one, the scent of ambergris, from this one, the scent of ben, from this one, the scent of kaluk, from this one, the scent of galia, from this one, the scent of jasmine, from this one, the scent of rose, and all the rest of perfumes and oils. And from this one, the scent of sulphur, from this one, the scent of naphtha, from this one, the scent of tar, and what one has no endurance to stand near, from the severity of the stench of its smell. So people, in their generality, are like the chest and the flasks, and they, in coming to know them and searching out their characters, are dispersed according to the measure of the flasks. And the likeness of the chest, in its generality, is also your own likeness, you alone, and the flasks are your characters and your manners, their fragrant scent is the best of your characters, your good and desirable manners, and the foul scent is the worst of your characters, your evil and ugly manners. And the soul is not known until it is tested and tried. So test your soul, that you may know what is in it. And if you desire that, then deal with it by agreeing with it, and by scrutinizing its resolve at the time of resolve, and sharpen your gaze upon it, until you come to know your forbearance at the moment when its foolishness presents itself, so it is foolish toward you, not at the moment when it agreed with your desire. And come to know your humility at a time when someone has treated you harshly, or when one who honors you, for in both there is trial. For the servant may show humility at the time of honor in order to gain increase of it, and may show humility at the time of harshness in order to establish for himself, by the humility at that time, a standing among people. So pause at all of that, and scrutinize the resolve. And come to know your silence at the time of fear of the fall of your prestige before one with whom you have prestige and rank. And come to know your truthfulness at a state in the like of which the affected and the pretentious make a show and adorn themselves. And come to know your sincere counsel at your love for yourself, your friend, and your enemy, that you may know, do you love for another what you love for yourself, or not? And come to know your patience at the abandoning of an appetite you possess, are you able to abandon it for that, or not? And come to know your scrupulousness at a state of which you have taken firm hold, are you able to halt at it when it grows ambiguous to you, or not? And come to know your intellect at the abandoning of what has no benefit for you in the world nor in the hereafter, and no reward for you with God Most High, are you able to abandon that, or not? And come to know your trustworthiness at your desire, at the time you desire it, do you keep the discharge of your trust at that time, or not? And come to know your greed at the time of the surge of your craving, are you able, at that, for despair, or not? So if you are, in these states and times, praiseworthy, then how excellent is your good! And praise God, ask Him for increase of His bounty, and pass on, for you are upon the path of uprightness, the road of love, and the clear way of faith. But if you are, in these states, blameworthy, then your characters and your conduct are more deserving of your setting them right, for in you is a great corruption, and you are not upon the path of uprightness, nor upon the road of love, nor the clear way of faith. So fear God, and return to the scrutiny of your soul and the setting right of its corruption. I said, there comes from me, in some of my states, what I loathe my soul for, and over which my remorse grows intense. He said, your loathing of it is from your knowledge of it, and your remorse over it is its remedy. So when you look at the stumble of another, recall your own stumble and your loathing of your own soul. Were the welfare of the soul and its benefit to be in what it desires or craves, all people would be righteous, but its welfare was set in what it dislikes, and its corruption in what it loves and craves. Indeed, it does not dislike welfare and good, but it dislikes the disliked thing by which welfare and good are attained, and were the rank of the pious attainable for it by the deeds of the wicked, it would accept it. As for evil, it loves its qualities and its ways, and everything of it. And of your calling it to account is, that you sit alone with it, and turn back upon it its deeds, and say, O soul, you are not able to deceive God, nor to overcome Him, so do not accept the deception of Satan, nor his overpowering, and do not pursue your desire, lest it cast you down and destroy you. And I do not burden you with what you have no power for and no knowledge of, and I see you loving for yourself what you loathe another for, and disliking for yourself what you love another for. The peak of self-deception, and the reality of drawing near through love of the righteous. I see you loving the people of humility, truthfulness, and trustworthiness, so much that, were you to see their graves and their traces, you would love them, by your own claim, and disliking their qualities, by which they gained love from you, so much that, were you able to be among your bitterest enemies after it departed from you, that would be your wish. So either you desire to deceive God, since you know that He observes that from you, or you are not good at seeking good. O my brother, the hungry one loves bread, and the thirsty one loves water, and were bread and water set between their hands upon a table, or hung about their necks, their knowledge that the bread and water are with them would not benefit them, nor their nearness to them, without their eating of the food and drinking of the drink. And so are you, your knowledge of good does not benefit you, nor its nearness to you, nor your love for it, until it is in you, and you become of its people. Rather, I do not even concede that you love it, but you are deceived, or a deceiver in your claim that you love it. O my brother, have you ever seen a thirsty man who, having gotten hold of cold water, did not drink it, except one falsely claiming thirst who is not thirsty? Or have you seen a hungry man who found food made available to him, and did not eat it, except one falsely claiming hunger who is not hungry? How clear, then, is the nullification of your claim, in what you allege of loving good and its people, when you compare what you love of the world with what you love of the hereafter. For I see you, when you love a thing of the world, loving that none should own it but you. This is the very truthful love. But when you love a thing of the deeds of the righteous, by your own claim, then nothing is heavier upon you than that you yourself should be its door, whereas, had you been a lover of it, you would have loved that no one precede you, and that no one own more of it than you own. O my brother, is it not time for you to weary and grow sated of falsehood and of self-delusion regarding God Most High? Is it not time for you to love that your name be, for a single day of your whole life, among the names of the righteous, the humble, the sincere, the counselors, the thankful, the contented, the patient, the submissive, the trusting, the reliant, the committed, the fearful, the longing, the knowers, the learned, the certain? Truly I say to you, were anyone ever to die of wonder, it would behove you to die in your place, when you look at what you are in, of your preferring the world, your turning toward it, together with your certainty that it is nothing, and your contentment with abandoning the road of the righteous, the people of good, the companionship of Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, and his neighborhood in paradise. For were his companionship in the world, and you then left the whole world and preferred his companionship, what you left would be trifling beside what you gained. So how about companionship in paradise, with the permanence of the kingdom in the neighborhood of God and the neighborhood of his beloved ones, with those whom God has blessed of the prophets, the truthful, the martyrs, and the righteous, and excellent are those as companions, in the comfort, the blessing, and the lasting, eternal joy? So review your soul, O my brother, and look at what is in this self-deception, and at what has overcome you and overcome your certainty, or what is this trick that has entered upon you. And reflect upon what you are coming to of the weighing of your deed, and God's questioning you about the weights of motes and mustard seeds, and what is above that and below it. And reflect upon the swiftness of the spending of the appointed term, and let the shortening of hope be upon you. Do not part from it, and let it not part from you, for the blink of an eye, neither by night nor by day. The deceivers, those who trade in religion. He said, tell me, if you opposed this matter, desired by your deed other than God, desired to raise yourself above people, or did not love for them what you love for yourself, would you attain or reach what you hope for of that? Do you not know that you are at your farthest from God when you are like that? And along with this, I do not see you seeking dinars and dirhams to profit by them and avail yourself of them in these days of yours, rather you seek by that commendation, prestige, and rank. And you have chosen a way by which you earn the hatred of whoever opposes you, and earn also the hatred of whoever agreed with you, were there to appear of your affair what was hidden, and there is no escape from its appearing one day. He said, patience leaves people neither excuse nor argument. So whoever does not meet God with what he commanded, with the sweetness of contentment, let him meet him with patience, even with dislike of it, and whoever does not meet God with hatred of what he forbade, let him not meet him with love of it, but with patience. So patience leaves people no argument. Love of the world is the root of every affliction. He said, from the little, the much is taken as a lesson. The people of the world, when they desire to do a thing, begin with seeking, they seek the instrument by which that work is done, otherwise there is no way for them to that work at all. And were the people of the world all together, and with them the instrument of every craft, could they bore a needle except with its instrument, which is its instrument? And so is everything. Have you ever seen a farrier able to do his craft with the instrument of a tailor? Or a tailor able to do his craft with the instrument of a farrier? And so is every work. The blacksmith cannot do his work with the instrument of the carpenter, nor the carpenter with the instrument of the cobbler. And so are the deeds of the hereafter, they cannot be done except with their instrument, and the root of the instrument of the deeds of the hereafter is knowledge, gnosis, and reflection, for they are of the indications of the instrument. Love of the world is the root of every affliction. It is related of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, your love of a thing blinds and deafens. And it is related of Jesus, peace be upon him, that he said, love of the world is the root of every sin. And the most beneficial thing with which the believer treats himself in the matter of his religion is, cutting the love of the world out of his heart. For when he does that, the abandoning of the world is made easy for him, and the seeking of the hereafter is made smooth for him, and he cannot cut it off except with its instrument. Yet I do not say its instrument is poverty, the scantness of things, abundance of fasting, prayer, pilgrimage, and striving, rather the root of its instrument is reflection, the shortening of hope, the renewal of repentance and purity, the extraction of pride from the heart, adherence to humility, the cultivation of the heart with piety, the continuance of sorrow, an abundant concern over what is coming upon him. And how many a one does these deeds we have described while the love of the world in his heart is increasing, and many a one of people does not do much of these deeds while his love of the world is in decline, because he took it from another direction, that he binds his soul to reflection and shortens his hope, rather, he takes things from where God has made them lawful, placing them where God commanded, and binds his heart to the remembrance of the nearness of parting from them, and parting from what is in them, and what he comes to of hardships, the grave, the standing before God, mighty and majestic, and the length of the reckoning, and he does not know in which of the two groups his number is, nor in which of the two throngs his name is. Whether among those who will be driven to paradise in throngs, or among those who will be driven to hell in herds. And he reflects upon his sins, by a single one of which, were the people of the world to be seized, they would perish, and upon the length of the eternity of the people of the fire in the fire. And more severe than that is the wrath of God upon the people of the fire. And upon what he fears to miss of God's pleasure with the people of paradise. And he lessens reflection upon the world and its bliss, for the heart, with reflection, lives if the reflection is upon the hereafter, and dies if the reflection is upon the world. He said, and what would it cost the servant to resolve to make his portion of the remainder of his life in the world, whatever there was of prestige, praise, commendation from people, or rank with them, and whatever there was of the excess of blessing in it, to resolve to make all of that for his bitterest enemy and most spiteful envier, apportioning to his relatives and his friends nothing of it, after he has come to hope that all of that will be his ransom from the fire, so that, were he called to it and imprisoned in a narrow cell to accept it, he would not accept it, but would choose the prison over it, be wary of it, and flee from it, as he used to seek it before. For, by my life, were there in him only the hope that he might attain the setting right of what he spoiled of his life that has passed, let him set it right, free himself of what has passed, and make sorrow, concern, and scant meeting with people a provision for him, together with supplication and humble entreaty, and set death before his eyes, and seek help in the swiftness of departure from the world. For how light it is upon one who alighted at a lodging while intending to depart from it, to leave it for his neighbor, and how scant his compassion for it, and how compassionate is one who alighted at a lodging while intending to remain in it, and is most eager for its cultivation. The sum of the welfare of souls. He said, if the devotee does not accept wisdom, admonition, or sincere counsel, from the enemy and the friend, the foolish and the forbearing, then his devotion is the devotion of kings. I said, you mentioned a thing that causes another to be forgotten, like which thing of things is this? He said, like satiety, for it stirs up appetite and bequeaths hardness, exultation, heaviness, and sleep. And like abundance of speech, for it hardens the heart, lessens radiance and dignity, makes wisdom barren, and increases idle slips. And like the lengthening of hope, for it causes the hereafter to be forgotten, recalls the world and beautifies it, makes it beloved to you, and bequeaths envy and procrastination, strengthens caprice, and increases appetites. And in this is what you take as proof of their opposites. So when you reflect upon it, you come to know, of things, what bequeaths good and what bequeaths evil, and every occupation distracts from another of the occupations, for the heart is one, and it cannot occupy itself except with a single thing. Will, truthfulness, and caprice. The agreement of caprice and truthfulness upon the deed of righteousness. I said, truthfulness and desire are in agreement upon the deed of righteousness. He said, God is able to subdue caprice to truthfulness, and even so, it is little, and those who know this little among people are few, and those ignorant of it are many, because the will for the deed comes before the deed, while desire and appetite are next to the deed, and intention and truthfulness are behind them both. So whenever the servant wills or resolves a deed, from near or far, caprice, appetite, and the truthful intention within them both rush to the heart with the mention of what is hoped for and anticipated of the like of that deed, of the needs of the world, its appetites, its benefits, its comforts and pleasures, what one finds intimacy with of its like among things, what has good standing among people, and their remembrance of him with commendation, praise, rank, prestige, elevation, and leadership. And the truthful will is, afterward, absent, and so long as it is absent, the heart accepts these things, repelling none of them, for there must be in the heart a hope in this deed which it willed and resolved upon. And man is the most forgetful of things, and the most of forgetting is at that time, because these things which the soul and desire brought to the heart, of what we mentioned of commendation, praise, gentleness, rank, prestige, leadership, and standing, are all of what the heart is adorned by and craves and desires, so therefore heedlessness and forgetfulness of the truthful will are abundant. And were the place of what the heart finds sweet and craves to be bitterness and dislike, it would not accept forgetfulness and heedlessness, but since agreement came, the heart settled to these qualities. So whomever God, mighty and majestic, wills to bless, so that the truthful will is before caprice and the appetite of the soul, and so that he desires by the deed the face of God and the abode of the hereafter, then in this is the occupation of the heart at that time, and in what is hoped for in it of the pleasure of God, mighty and majestic, and his reward, and what the soul and desire brought, of what we mentioned, the heart did not accept, and repelled it back upon them. So in this is the greatest of blessings, and upon its possessor the most thankfulness. Caprice preceding the truthful will in the deed. And if the soul, caprice, and appetite are preceders before the truthful will, then there is no escape for its possessor from halting, looking, and reflecting, until he cleanses his heart of what the soul, desire, and appetite presented to it, and sets the will of God in the place of that and before it, so the heart accepts it, whether it grieves it or pleases it. Then he is wary and tends it carefully, until he seals the deed which he opened with the truthful will with the like of that, and after he finishes the deed, so long as the spirit is in his body. And know that the firm establishing of this is dearer and harder than the moving of rock and the mounting of spear points, except for one whom God has provided the firm establishing of that and care for it, out of fear for the ruin of his soul and the nullification of his deed, for the enemy is insistent, diligent, scheming against him in the introducing of the faults that spoil deeds, so he watches for him before his entry into the deed, and after he enters it, and after he comes out of it. Caprice arising after the truthful will is put first. So if he puts the truthful, sound will and intention first, by which the deed is not made sick, and enters the deed with it, repels desire, pushes back the soul, opposes the appetite, and struggles against the enemy, then if it bars him after his entry into the deed, presenting to him what we mentioned of the faults that spoil deeds, if he accepts them until he seals the deed by accepting them, he spoils for himself its sound root, which he had established and entered the deed with. But if he does not accept what was presented to him in the deed, and repels it and pushes it back, that does not harm him anything. And if he accepted it, then awoke before he finished the deed, felt remorse, returned, became wakeful, and removed heedlessness, then sealed the deed with remorse, that does not harm him anything. And if he sealed the deed with truthfulness and soundness, then the enemy still demands of him in that deed, to spoil it for him, even after a while. So the servant ought to fear God, devote his deed sincerely to him, and put the intention first before every deed and after every deed, until death, so that his deeds are all for God alone, and he does not seek the reward except from God alone, and he struggles against this besetting enemy, opposes this desire, contends with this soul, and guards against this appetite surging in his heart, and he knows whom he is dealing with, for whom he works, and whose reward he seeks. And he does the deed with the surging of desire for the reward of God Most High, and the surging of dread of the punishment of God Most High, and if he does the deed upon that, he does it with appetite, lightness, and love, on account of what surged of his desire and his dread, so he removes from himself what we mentioned of the faults that spoil deeds. So when he works upon that, it is as if caprice and truthfulness were gathered for him together, and he does not care, when it is thus, for the agreement of desire or its opposition, and what is upon him of opposing desire, if he is safe from its evil, and that harms him nothing, it is as if he had agreed with it. So there is no escape, the servant will be halted, and questioned about what he did, and for whom he worked, and what he intended by what he did. Showing off and sincerity, and their rulings. The will is two wills, one of them for the world, and the other for the hereafter. So truthfulness and sincerity are only when the servant desires by his deed the face of God, and there is in it nothing of the meanings of the world. And showing off is only that there will be entirely for the world. So of it is that the servant desires by his deed, in the root of the deed, commendation and praise. And of it is that the servant desires by it, in the root of his deed, the face of God and the abode of the hereafter, and he loves to be praised for his deed and commended for it. And of it is that the servant desires by his deed the face of God alone, and the abode of the hereafter. Then, when he enters the deed upon that sincerity, some of what we mentioned of the faults presents itself to him, so he accepts it, and loves to be praised for his deed, and to take up by it a standing with one of created beings. And of it is that the servant desires by his deed the face of God and the abode of the hereafter, and seals his deed with that, then is demanded with the faults after finishing the deed, even after a while, so that he tells of that deed, desiring to be praised for it, and to take up by it prestige and standing among created beings. So this is the easiest of all that we have mentioned. And people in this are different. A group says, this is of the sins, and it does not spoil the deed, because the deed has passed and was sealed with soundness, so it is not spoiled after the seal, and what befalls the servant afterward, which he then accepts of these faults, God has, in that, upon the servant a charge and a demand, but the deed is not nullified. And a group said, the deed is nullified, even after a while, when he accepts the fault, loves commendation, brings created beings into his deed, and loves with them praise, standing, and prestige. The deed empty of the mention of the truthful will. I said, tell me, if the servant resolved upon a deed of righteousness, did it and finished it, but did not mention, before his deed nor after it, the will of God and the hereafter, and was forgetful and inattentive to it, is this not a deed without intention and without truthfulness? He said, Yes. I said, And how can a deed of the deeds of righteousness, by the like of which God is intended, be without intention and without truthfulness, when the servant has done it? He said, If there was no truthfulness, and the intention was not put first, then it is nothing, for the prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, Deeds are but by intention. So if you say, I forgot the intention and was inattentive to it, then this is a confession, and you have no argument, for only the world made you forget the intention, and your overpowering will. Was not the affliction of Adam from forgetfulness and the scantness of resolve? Do you not hear the saying of God Most High, and we had already taken a promise from Adam before, but he forgot, and we found not in him determination. And I say, the deed is not a deed as God commanded that it be done, except by truthfulness of intention, soundness of will, and the putting of them both first before every deed. This, in my view, is the deed, as the prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, Deeds are by intention. The necessity of caring for the essences of deeds by their names. And know that your halting at the opening of the deed, the mention of truthfulness, the setting right of intention and will, and your aversion to showing off, and your recollection of the garden and the fire, do not increase you in truthfulness, nor lessen you in your showing off, until you employ piety, put the intention first, and are truthful in the will. So do not slacken at that time, for man loves the name of good and dislikes the very thing that is good, and dislikes the name of evil and loves the very thing that is evil. How beloved to man is the name of truthfulness, and how heavy upon him is the very thing of truthfulness. How intense is man's hatred for the name of showing off, yet how beloved it is to him, how light upon him, and how intense his use of it. So do not be lax at that time about the mention of intention, for truthfulness and intention are two names, and their very reality is the truthful will, and the soul and desire are the fruit of the deed by their sweetness. And know that your delight, in what you find of the sweetness of the taste of confections and the like, you find only at your eating, when you eat it, while the sweetness of desire and appetite, in thought, when you follow it toward what you want, has no food and no drink, its only pleasure of things is that it be followed in its thought and its root. And know that the pleasure of showing off and its sweetness is a pleasure that mingles with hearts and runs in the veins, so beware of that at the very beginning of the deed, scrutinize the resolve and probe the setting right of the will, and be, in all of that, watchful of God alone. Knowing the truthfulness in transferring the will from showing off to soundness. I said, when I desire to do the deed, I halt before the opening, review my intention and my will, and find that showing off has preceded truthfulness, and I find truthfulness absent from me, so I desire to transfer the will, in its reality, to truthfulness and soundness and good intention, and to guard against desire with its ornament, its showing off, and its appetite. So when do I know that I have done that, and have come, of it, to what I desired, while you have mentioned that the mention of intention and truthfulness does not benefit me until it is by the verifying of the will? He said, because they do not gather in a single heart. Then he said, their names may gather, but their very realities do not gather. So when the soul does not desire and crave what you yourself desire and crave of God Most High's will by that deed and the abode of the hereafter, then you have known that this is present, and that is absent, just as you used to know that showing off is present and intention is absent. And if what I describe to you grows ambiguous upon you, then undo the matter, as if you did not intend to do it at all, and be truthful in it. So if you know that you have been truthful by your undoing of it, then begin it from the head. So if you find from your soul contentment and settling at the undoing of the deed and the abandoning of it, then know that it is a sign of the presence of truthfulness and the absence of desire and showing off. But if you find a dislike of the undoing and the abandoning, then know that desire is still in it. I said, strike for me in this a likeness clearer than this. He said, like a man who resolved to prepare a meal to invite some people to it, so he reviewed his soul and his resolve, and behold, he desires to invite so-and-so for something the man had agreed with him on. And behold, he desires to invite another, intending a kind of domineering, that he might employ him and have him submit to him. And behold, he desires to invite another to seek his help in a wrongdoing. And behold, he desires to invite another to gain from him some worldly advantage. And behold, he desires to invite another that he might praise him, commend him, and spread his renown. And behold, he desires to invite another that he might sit with him and visit him, and abandon the sitting and visiting of others. And behold, he desires to invite another for a fine meeting by which he meets him. And the like of that, in which there is nothing for God, glory be to him. And exalted is he, but it is entirely for the world. So when this became clear to him from his soul, and his will was not the face of God, nor what he hopes of the reward of God upon their meal, he said within himself, when that became clear to him, no. But I will abandon the first will, and bring a second will by which I desire the face of God Most High alone, and the abode of the hereafter. Then he said, but perhaps I am deceived in this and do not perceive it. So I will invite, in place of these, another people, before whom I put intention and the sound will first, before the meal, or I will invite no one. So if he sees his soul at that, contending with him to invite them, then the soul's dislike of abandoning their invitation, and its love of inviting them, is a sign that he is not truthful, and that he is deceived. But if it settles to the abandoning and is content with it, then that is of the sign of good. So it behoves him then to do it and to proceed in it. If he wishes, he invites them, and if he wishes, he invites others, with a fresh intention. The abundance of error, and the hiddenness of deception, in this matter. And deception, error, mistake and deliberation, forgetfulness, trials, and afflictions, in this matter of the sincerity of the deed, the truthfulness of the will, and the precedence of intention, are severe, and the affliction in it is much. And on account of its severity, the servant is given, for the little deed done with sincerity, the much reward. And its faults are more than the book can comprise, and its soundness is too dear to be reached by the secure, deceived one, beguiled by the outward of the book and the outward of knowledge. Rather, only the people of care for themselves grasp all of that and know it, those who feared for their deeds lest they be nullified, and feared for their souls lest they perish. So it does not behove a man of intellect to slacken from the scrutiny of his resolve, the calling of his soul to account, the purifying of his conscience, and watchfulness of God, glory and exaltation be to him, at every deed he desires to do, otherwise he is deceived. And of God we ask success, understanding, sound resolve, and the truthful will. And know that inattention and heedlessness of this knowledge, by which deeds are made pure, are a grave ignorance, a self-delusion, scant care for the soul, and scant concern for God Most High's regard upon the corruption of the deed, and from among these blameworthy traits which we have mentioned, ruin is born. And we ask God, glory be to him, for right direction and soundness, and help in upholding what we have come to know, and thankfulness for what we have understood, and we ask him to increase us of his bounty. Truly, toward him we are desirous, and there is no power and no strength save in God, the Most High, the Most Great. Indications and signs. In the name of God, the Most Gracious, the Most Merciful. It is related of one of the sages that he said, if people suppose of you that you do a deed of good which you do not do, or you do a deed of good and they suppose that you do more of it, and you decline that they should be informed of the reality of your deed, then you are of those who love to be praised for what they did not do. And if you love that they be informed of it, then you love to be praised for what you have done. He said, the sign of the love of God is the love of all that God loves. And the sign of the fear of God is the abandoning of all that God dislikes. And the sign of shame before God is, that you do not forget the coming before God, and that you be watchful of God in all your affairs, according to the measure of the nearness of God Most High to you and his observance of you. And of the sign of good opinion of God is, intense striving in the obedience of God. And the sign of the one sincere to God is, intense turning toward God, the understanding of his book and acting by it, the following of the ways of his prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, and that he love that he be obeyed and not disobeyed, and be remembered and not forgotten. And the sign of sincere counsel to people is, that you love for them what you love for yourself of the obedience of God Most High, and dislike for them what you dislike for yourself of the disobedience of God Most High. And the sign of patience is, that you do not complain of any of your calamities to any of created beings. And patience is, patience upon obedience, patience away from disobedience, patience upon the concealing of calamity, which is of the treasures of righteousness, patience upon the concealing of obedience, and patience is the restraining of the soul from all of that. And of the sign of contentment with God is, contentment with the decree of God. And it is, the settling of the heart to the rulings of God. And entrustment to God before contentment, and contentment after entrustment. And of the sign of the truthfulness of hope is, intensity of seeking, earnestness, and striving to attain what one hopes for. And of the sign of knowing the soul is, ill opinion of it. And of the sign of thankfulness is, knowing the blessing by the heart, that it is from God and not from any other, and praising for it with the tongue, and that one not seek help, through it, upon anything the bestower dislikes. I said, and what is the verification of this knowledge of mine? He said, standing with the recompense of it, even if you fall short, but the giving of one's utmost in thanking for it. And of the sign of knowing the world is, the abandoning of it, asceticism regarding it, estrangement from it, and from whoever leans toward it, loves it, prefers it, and magnifies its worth. And of the sign of knowing the hereafter is, the surging of desire for it, intensity of longing for it, intimacy through abundant remembrance of it, and fellowship with whoever is truthful in working for it. And of the sign of intellect is, good management, and the placing of things in their places, of word and deed. And the verification of that is, preferring the more to the less. And of the sign of justice is, that you not set in yourself two judges, judging for yourself by one and for people by another, until the judgment in yourself and in others is one judgment, and the doing of justice to people from yourself. And of the sign of humility is, that no one calls you to a truth but that you accept it and do not reject it, and that you do not see anyone of the Muslims but that you see yourself below him. And people excel one another in knowledge, in preferring, contentment, thankfulness, love, trust, fear, and certainty. And patience, and the lowest of ranks is patience, and the highest of all of them is certainty. And of the sign of good character is, the bearing of harm in the cause of God, the restraining of rage, abundant agreement with the people of truth upon the truth, forgiveness, and the overlooking of the lapse. And of the sign of bad character is, abundant opposition and scant endurance. And of the sign of affability is, little opposition and the bestowing of kindness. And the sign of truthfulness is, desiring God alone by the deed and the word, the abandoning of adornment and the love of the reward of created beings, and truthfulness in speech. And the best of living is contentment. And knowledge is the fear of God, and it is the preferring of the hereafter over the world, and the knowing of the road to God. And the soundness of the heart is tenderness and softness, and the corruption of the heart is hardness and coarseness. And the most delightful of living is intimacy with God. And intimacy is the gathering of aspiration. And the worst of evil, in which there is no good, and with which no good can stand, is arrogance, and the best of good, in which there is no evil, is humility, and it is, that you set yourself below people. And arrogance is, that you raise it above people. And no good has anyone preferred over humility in anything. And prudence is, fleeing from every place in which there is a trial. And patience is the opposing of love. And nothing of worship is difficult, along with the strength of patience, until one rises from the rank of patience to the rank of fear, then from the rank of fear to the rank of love. For just as nothing of the world is made pleasant for a servant, of what he is given, except by contentment, likewise the deed of the hereafter is not made pleasant for him except by fear and love. So when the servant reaches that, the burden of patience falls from him, and he delights in fear and longing. The bliss of fear and longing. Knowledge and the bliss of fear. I said, by what thing does one pass from the rank of patience to the rank of bliss? He said, by the goodness of knowledge. I said, from what is the goodness of knowledge? He said, the heart's poverty toward God, its drawing near to him, and to the abode of the hereafter, until they are as if seen by the eye, and he sets the sins that have passed from him, in what is between him and God, before his eyes, and he sets the blessing that God has bestowed upon him, which he cannot enumerate nor is able to thank for, in the acknowledgement of his heart of that, and the reverence of God, his exaltation and his power, his threat, the terrors of the resurrection and what is after it and before it, of the barzakh and death. So when that settles in his heart, and the heart settles to that, the heart is illumined and cultivated after ruin, and shines after darkness, then the joints grow supple at that, and the limbs leap to acts of obedience, so at that point the burden of patience falls, and one comes to be in the rank of fear and love of worship, and at that one finds the sweetness of what he is in, that worship is by the goodness of knowledge. So he ceases not to be thus, until there presents itself to him of the callings of the world and the whisperings of the soul that which, if he inclines to it, cuts him off from that sweetness, and returns him to the rank of patience. And a single hour of those hours is better than many days of the days of patience, because in it is fear, in it is love, in it is thankfulness, in it is remorse, which is repentance, and the magnifying of what God has magnified, the belittling of the world, and intimacy with God. So the possessor of this rank is not overtaken by the possessor of abundant fasting, abundant prayer, pilgrimage, and raiding, and so is the deed when it is with strong knowledge. How people grew heedless of this rank. I said, where, then, are the seekers, away from this rank? And why is not their concern and their care for it more than their care for the other ranks? He said, this rank, among the ranks, is like the gem among things, and the surpassing pearl among 1,000 pearls, while the kind is one, and the people of this rank are only few and rare, because of things there is that whose difficulty is in the path toward it. When you reach it, you come to ease, comfort, and intimacy, and of things there is that whose ease and craving is in its road, and whose difficulty and hardship is in the very thing itself when you reach it. And the common folk are concerned with the thing in which is ease, so when they come to hardship and bitterness, they recoil, grow bewildered and lose out, though before that they used to hasten to it for the ease in it. Do you not see them seeking knowledge? Then, when they come to the using of knowledge and scrupulousness, you see none who uses it, nor any who desires it, but one after another. Do you not see them learning the conduct and the merits of striving? Then, when they come to the conditions of striving, you see none who upholds its work. This rank is hard in the road toward it, and you see none upon its road but one after another out of the many, so therefore the people of this rank are few, and the seekers of other ranks are many, because it is the rank that enslaved the servants, and it is the rank of truthfulness, and its knowledge has become abandoned, and people have come to desire, of the deed, only what is light to bear, and in which the scrutiny of resolve, the purity of conscience, halting, self-reckoning, the opposing of desire, and the struggling against the enemy are scant. And know that the servant's contentment with the state he is upon, while remaining in it, is a weakness and an affliction that has descended upon him. The lover hastens to acts of nearness. He said, the lover yearns toward the act of nearness always, as long as he lives, and the fearful one exposes himself to deliverance, so when he is certain of departure, he becomes a deceiver of his soul, and one who prefers what he sent ahead over what he left behind. And I know nothing among people scarcer than anger for God, contentment for God, love for God, and hatred for God, and scarcer than that is contentment with God Most High, submission to His command, and the entrusting of affairs to God. And most of people's safety from evil is by patience, and most of their seeking of good is by what agrees with desire, and man, in most blessings, is opposed to thankfulness, and the nearest of the qualities of good to God are the heaviest upon the servant, and had he accepted them with thankfulness, the nearest of them to God would be the most beloved to him. So this servant hopes for the mercy of God by the little of righteousness as he hopes for it by the much of righteousness, alike, and he fears the wrath of God by the little of sins as he fears his wrath by the much of sins, alike, and the goodness of desire is not in much of good deeds unless it is, in the little, likewise. He said, when you desire to set right something of your affair, and it grows hard upon you, then let go of all the deeds of righteousness, of the voluntary, and make all your occupation in it, for you will be helped to it, God willing. The ranks of working for God. He said, people work in 4 ways. The noblest and most excellent of them, the people who worked for God upon exalting Him, so their deeds became fair and their actions noble, upon the manner of His greatness in their breasts and the greatness of His worth in their hearts, so there was nothing more beloved to them, nor more delightful in their estimation, than a thing by which they draw near to Him. And others worked upon the manner of desire and eagerness for His neighborhood, so they had no aspiration but the abandoning of what He forbade them, to magnify His reward, and they feared to miss the good of what is with Him, of the immense reward He has prepared for the people of His friendship. And others worked out of fear of Him and of His punishment, so their aspiration was, of the dread of punishment, that it came between them and the desire for reward. Their deeds were upon the manner of fleeing from punishment, and reward did not occur to their hearts, on account of the immensity of punishment in their breasts, and they say within themselves, if our deeds bring us to deliverance from punishment, we have indeed triumphed with the supreme triumph. So estrangement departed from their hearts, out of the abundance of dread, and paradise does not occur to their hearts, on account of the immensity of punishment in their breasts. And others worked upon the manner of shame before God, glory be to Him, they felt shame before Him by night and by day, when the doors were closed and the curtains let down over them, since they were certain that it is He who attends to their honor and their interrogation. So they were ashamed of every ugly thing they would do in their secrets, until it was as if they were looking at Him, and when they were certain of His looking at them, they said, it is the same to us whether He looked at us or we looked at Him, and they were certain that He is nearer to them than the jugular vein. So when they were certain of that, their certainty came between them and the weights of motes and the measures of mustard seeds, of what the observer dislikes. And what came between them and the hearts resolving upon anything their master dislikes was their knowledge that he is acquainted with their consciences, and looks at them in every motion that comes from them and every stillness, every passing thought, every blink of an eye, every aspiration, every will, every intention, every love, and every appetite. As for us, what stirred us upon our deed was not the exalting of him, nor did our desire for the immensity of reward stir us, so that we might draw near by fair deeds. The dread of punishment did not call us to abandon the evil of deeds, nor did shame before him come between us and the ugliness of deeds, in what is between us and him. So we ask God, the bestower, who favored them, that he favor us with what he favored them, and that he grant us the like of their deeds, for he is the doer of what he wills. He said, Truthfulness, with the servant, is according to the measure of his will, and thankfulness, with him, according to the measure of the place of the blessing with him. The conduct of the predecessors. Remembrance of the hereafter. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. It is related of one of the sages that he wrote to a brother of his. Peace be upon you. To proceed, remember what you are passing away from, coming upon, and going to, like the remembrance of one who looked and took heed, took his caution and desisted, and took refuge in God from the death of the heart, out of intense care for soundness and right guidance, and good preparation for the return. For had the servants reflected and known that it does not befit them to come before God except with what he is pleased with, whether they knew or were ignorant, and that they must not let God observe in their consciences anything he dislikes, and that they be remorseful over what was from them of what he was not pleased with, of what they knew or were ignorant of, then whoever of them feared God in the unseen would have striven that his unknown become known, his known be acted upon, and that they be remorseful over what escaped them of that. Knowing God. The first of what God Most High desired of the servants is, that they know him by the aspects through which he has made himself known to them, for he has made himself known to them through his creating of creation, his ordering of creation, his power over creation, his undertaking of the provision of creation, his causing creation to die, and his giving creation life. His, indeed, are the creation and the command, blessed is God, the best of creators. Desiring God by the deed. And he desired of them, after knowledge, that they desire him by all that they do of the deeds of righteousness, and that they see none other than him, and seek the reward only from him, for were it possible that there be, before knowledge, anything, then will would be before knowledge, and were he to be made independent of knowledge by anything, then will would be made independent of knowledge. So knowledge is before everything, and the root of everything, then will, and it is from it, and it is, the verification of abandoning, the verification of doing, the taking and the giving, love and dislike, in all deeds. And it is the patron that binds the benefits of the people of deeds in their deeds. Thankfulness for blessings. Thankfulness is according to the measure of knowledge, the key of blessings, the most excellent of them all, and the first of them is the blessing of knowledge. And I do not know, after the blessing of knowledge, anything greater in worth than the blessing of intellect, and the blessing of will is a blessing whose thankfulness is hard to attain. And the last of blessings is the blessing of wisdom. So we ask God for a good ending, and ask him to make us know all his blessings, and to apportion us thankfulness for that, for the servant may attain, by knowledge and will, of good and nearness to God, glory and exaltation be to him, what the possessor of much deed does not attain. Knowing what God loves and what he dislikes. And there is nothing worthier for the servant, after the knowledge of God, than the knowledge of what God dislikes, which is what he forbade him and warned him against, with the threat, the rebuke, and the caution. Then the knowledge of what God loves, which is what he commanded and urged. So the most effective of deeds toward the pleasure of God are, the parting from what God dislikes, then the engaging in what God Most High loves and urged. So look, O my brother, when you rise in the morning, let nothing be more important to you than that you put to death a quality your soul desires of what God Most High dislikes, for there comes alive for you, in its place, a quality of what God loves, and you have, after that, the multiplying of the radiant light in your heart, and understanding. And know, O my brother, that the world is of three kinds, lawful and permitted, doubtful and forbidden. So when there is in the heart of the servant a firmly rooted knot of the love of the lawful and permitted, the supplies of the impulses toward doubtful and disliked things are not cut off from him. And when there is in his heart a firmly rooted knot of the love of doubtful and disliked things, the supplies of the impulses toward the forbidden are not cut off from him. And it has been related of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, that he said, whoever falls into the doubtful is on the verge of committing the forbidden, like a shepherd who grazes around the sanctuary, about to graze within it. So everyone in whose heart the doubtful takes firm hold, and who settles to taking it, falls into the forbidden, for the doubtful is nearer to the forbidden than it is to the lawful. I said, how, then, do people manage their needs and their requirements? He said, I did not forbid you your earning, your needs, and what you need of it. I only caution you against taking what you do not need of it, and I forbade you the belief of love for what you do need of it, so that you take it from the permitted while it is unwelcome to you, and you are aware of it and of the smallness of its worth before its Creator, since he says to his Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, the enjoyment of this world is little, and the hereafter is better for he who fears God. And since his Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, says, were the world worth, before God, the wing of a gnat, he would not have given an unbeliever a drink of water from it. And know that the one who holds the belief of its love, while aware of it, is not safe from its taking possession of his heart and owning him, so that he takes, after the lawful, the doubtful, and after the doubtful, the forbidden. And know that the one who holds its love and the one who does not both come upon their need. And the belief of the love of the world, of the lawful, is a frailty in the hearts of the knowers. It neither increases the provision of the one who holds the belief, nor diminishes the provision of the one who does not hold the love. And know that the servants were only commanded with the occupation of deeds out of ignorance, and with deeds done in sincerity, and this rank is not attained until you are in a state in which, were you able to abandon what you need of it, you would abandon it. The affliction of loving prestige among created beings. As for the other doubtful thing that God, glory and exaltation be to him, dislikes, it is your greed for rank, prestige, and commendation among created beings, and your fear of the fall of your standing among created beings, and that is of what makes your standing fall with God, mighty and majestic. So the people of the knowledge of God and the people of will dislike that God, glory be to him, should see them having held anything of that. The knowledge of God carried them, by the reverence of God and the preferring of his love, to this, that their master should not look at them while in them is anything he dislikes in the extent of their deeds, so they dislike what God dislikes in others. How, then, do they accept it in themselves? The knowledge of God refused that anything of the things God dislikes should dwell in it, and the will refused to be occupied with other than what God loves. Knowledge occupied them with reflection upon the abundance of the blessings of God, mighty and majestic, upon them, and their incapacity to render their thanks, together with their incapacity to enumerate their number, and with the reckoning of their sins as many, and with the abundance of their mention, out of shame before God, that they should ask for paradise, so paradise does not occur to their minds at all, and there came between them and asking for it shame before God and fear of him, and their calamity within themselves, of what they fear of missing the pleasure of God toward them and his wrath upon them, is greater in their souls, and more painful to their hearts, than the missing of paradise and the fear of the fire, and than what they find of what Satan casts of passing thoughts, the accidents of the world, the love of adornment for its people in their worship and obedience, the abundance of the corruption of intention, and the faults that oppose it, so they are, by that, distressed and troubled, in dread that God should see them having adorned themselves for any other than him. So do not be, O my brother, more concerned with anything of yourself than with knowledge and will, for good is a follower of them both, and they are the sign of God's regard for his servant, and with God is success. Hearing from God, and reasoning from God. Then I counsel you, O my brother, after watchfulness of God at your aspiration when you aspire, and at every motion that comes from you, and every stillness, and every state, that you hear from God and reason from him, for in this Qur'an which was sent down to us is the exposition of everything and the knowledge of everything. So upon you is the pondering of it and the contemplation of it by night and by day, and the laboring of your soul in understanding it and acting by it. Do you not hear the saying of God Most High, and you are not in any matter, nor do you recite any of the Qur'an, nor do you do any deed, except that we are witness over you when you are involved in it. And not absent from your Lord is anything of an atom's weight within the earth or within the heaven, nor anything smaller than that nor greater. So do not grow heedless of watchfulness of the one from whom nothing smaller than the weight of a mote is absent, do not weary of it nor tire of it, for he, Most High, is not heedless of it. He looks at you, observes your conscience, and reckons against you the weights of motes and the measures of mustard seeds, until he recompenses you for that. Do you not hear the saying of God? Indeed, God does not do injustice, as much as an atom's weight, while if there is a good deed, he multiplies it and gives from himself a great reward. The perfection of watchfulness. And know, O my brother, that a thing is scarcely made good except by a thing before it and a thing after it. As for what makes watchfulness good before it, it is wholehearted devotion to God and the adherence to his obedience, by watchfulness of him in secret and in open. And as for what makes wholehearted devotion to God good before that devotion, it is 4 things: repentance, the preferring of what God loves over what he dislikes, that you have, through him, intimacy with his creation, and that you not rejoice at what increases you of the world, nor grieve at what diminishes you of it, and that is the rank of the people of scrupulousness and contentment. And what strengthens you upon that is, the affirming of the promise of God Most High, trust in his guarantee, hoping in what suffices you of it, and the keeping to the swiftness of departure from the world. As for the preferring of what God loves over what he dislikes, glory be to him, no one is worthier or more deserving of that than he, blessed be his name. And it is the preferring of his love over your desire, and it is an obligation upon those who turn away from him and the runaways, that they return to him and deal with him. And how should he not prefer him, one who is accustomed to nearness to him and to cutting himself off to him? As for intimacy with him, it is, that you be more intimate with him than with his creation, for whoever knows him, knows his gentleness, the abundance of his favors, his wisdom, his kindness and tenderness, and his grace, is intimate with him. And how does the servant watch one he does not know? And how does he cut himself off to one he does not trust, nor is intimate with? As for what makes the thing good after it, it is thankfulness. And I bear witness that, had you understood what you recite, and were a seeker of this rank, you would look at him with the eye of the grieving, fearful ones, lest he not accept you, lest he find your will and your conduct loathsome, lest he turn you back from his door, and lest you come before him while you are like that. Taking heed. And seek help, in all your affair, through taking heed, for the matter ever remains veiled from you or absent from you. So when you look at it with the look of one who takes heed, taking heed nearly stands for you in the place of the eyewitness who informs of what was absent from you, and in the place of the discloser to you of what was hidden from you, until you look at the fairness of affairs and their ugliness, their goodness and their hideousness, and come to know whence the good became good and the ugly became ugly, so you follow, of that, what holds your salvation, and avoid what holds your ruin, and you come to know people, through taking heed, in their ranks, by the tone of speech and the tone of deed, and you come to know them, and know their ranks and their ways, by the light of taking heed and the gifts of inspiration, God willing. Moderation and prudence. And upon you, O my brother, is moderation and prudence in all your affairs, for moderation is more to be hoped for steadfastness and safer from faults, and prudence benefits its people at the time of hardship and does not harm them at the time of ease. So acquire as much of knowledge as you can, for knowledge is not like deeds, deeds have a limit at which they end, while knowledge has no limit at which it ends, because you desire, by knowledge, the perfecting of the matter of God and the upholding of his right, and no one attains that, because he, glory be to him and exalted is he, is too majestic and great for human beings to attain the reality of his right. Yet they differ in it by the increase and decrease of knowledge, together with knowledge, intimacy, repose, joy, and ease, for its increase is a blessing from God, and its decrease is a punishment from God for a sin, or the squandering of thankfulness. Beware the small sins, and desire the small goods. And beware of what God dislikes, of your deed, your intention, your secret, and your open conduct, in the small, as you beware of it in the great, for everything that spoils for you the weight of a mote you put forward for God spoils for you 100,000 dinars, and the whole world is like what spoils for you the weight of a mote, a spoiling that is equal, with no superiority of one over the other. And so in all deeds, corruption comes upon their abundance as it comes upon their scantness, alike. And desire the small of good as you desire the great, with a single desire, for he accepts the little from the servant as he accepts the much, an acceptance that is one and the same, and so in all deeds. And it is enough as a triumph that God accepts the small from his servant for his servant, though the deeds of the children of Adam are all small, except what God accepts of them, so when he accepts something of them, it becomes great, even if it was, before that, small. And know that the small of them is safer than the great of them in showing off, self-admiration, and self-congratulation, so be alert to that, and do not grow heedless of it. And know that you have, in your deed, a will and a hope, so look at your will in all your deeds, like the will of the people of thankfulness and contentment, and your hope in it like the hope of those who are extravagant against their souls, for nothing is more beloved to the people of contentment than a thing God is pleased with, nothing more beloved to the people of thankfulness than a thing they thank God for, and nothing worthier of the people of extravagance against their souls than a thing by which they hope for the pardon of God. And know that it is not from scantness of deed that I fear for you and the likes of you, but I fear for you from scantness of knowledge and weakness of will. I do not find myself fearing for you and the likes of you from scantness of voluntary works, nor do I fear, from scrupulousness, that you not look into it as another looks, nor that you not abandon appetites God made lawful to you and prefer another over yourself in them. But I fear for you this, that you contend in a matter God dislikes which does not benefit you, hidden from people while it is, with God, apparent, so it spoils for you all that you intended, or that you see that you have a superiority over another, so that confounds all that you were upon. And I fear for you that you not uphold the guarding of it as you upheld its knowledge, so that demolishes all that you were upon and built upon. Or that you not render what is incumbent upon you of thankfulness in it, so there binds upon you of blame in the ingratitude for blessings, more than what you hoped of praise in it. Or that you presume upon God, mighty and majestic, by your deed, so that brings you down from God. Or that you reproach someone with it, or injure anyone on its account. For you have known what God, mighty and majestic, said in that, O you who have believed, do not invalidate your charities with reminders or injury, as does one who spends his wealth to be seen by the people and does not believe in God and the last day. His example is like that of a smooth stone upon which is dust, and a downpour hits it and leaves it bare. And it may be that he resolves upon the deed he willed, then does not find it as he found it without resolving upon it. The perfection of resolve. I said, what ails the man, that a matter comes to him of what he loves, without seeking or resolving upon it, until I sometimes fear, from his resolve, that there be against him more than there is for him. He said, this is of what we said, a thing is not made good except by a thing before it and a thing after it, so when there is no resolve with knowledge, its consequence is like what you mentioned. And its knowledge is, that its beginning be by poverty toward God, glory and exaltation be to him, and that it not be like presuming upon God. And reliance is, that one isolate himself, by the heart's awareness, in the consigning of capability to God, glory and exaltation be to him, and the disavowing of power and strength. Do you not hear the saying of God Most High, and never say of anything, indeed, I will do that tomorrow, except, if God wills? This is an addition over reliance that God commanded. And his saying Most High, and consult them in the matter, and when you have decided, then rely upon God. And consultation is from need, not from sufficiency. God commanded his prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, to seek the help of one who is not his like, and that his way remain a way for whoever is after him. So how about one who is like me and like you, when he is inattentive to God in what only humble entreaty to him can suffice for? Do you not hear the saying of God, mighty and majestic, in the story of Jacob, the decision is only for God, upon him I have relied. And the consequence for Jacob was the completion of what he desired. And the saying of Joseph in the Qur'an, he said, my Lord, prison is more to my liking than that to which they invite me. And if you do not avert from me their plan, I might incline toward them and be of the ignorant. So his Lord responded to him and averted from him their plan. And his affair was completed for him when he took his soul out of capability, acknowledged poverty, and consigned the matter to his Lord. And the saying of the others in the Qur'an, if you should save us from this, we will surely be among the thankful. So they asked him, but did not consign their affair to him, neither before the asking nor after it. He said, but when he saves them, at once they commit injustice upon the earth without right. And their affair was not completed for them. And the saying of the others also in the Qur'an, if you should give us a good child, we will surely be among the grateful. But when he gives them a good child, they ascribe partners to him concerning that which he has given them. Then look at the saying of Adam, when he undertook the bearing of the trust without poverty and without humility, so his affair was not completed for him, and he was reproached with ignorance and wrongdoing. And what does resolve avail one who does not have the matter in his hand? Of the gems of wisdom. He said, whoever is not knowledgeable of what comes upon him from God is on the verge of not being knowledgeable of what comes upon God from him. No, O my brother, that whoever obeyed God but did not fear him has obeyed him in the deed and disobeyed him in the abandoning of fear, so how about one who disobeys him and does not fear him? He said, were you to take of the world only your sustenance, except that you did not intend God by it, you would be cut off, and were you to abandon your sustenance from the world, but did not intend God by it, you would be cut off. He said, had you understood, from God, two matters, you would look at him with great thankfulness, since he did not place his call to paradise in the abandoning of what you need in the world, nor place his call to the fire in your need of it. He said, know the blessing, that you may be of its people, for the beast does not find the scent of musk, even were its nostrils stuffed with it. He said, be of the sons of truth, and the truth will love you. He said, make your soul a follower upon the road of guidance, and do not make it a leader to the road of desire. He said, beware of an appetite that does not last, and a remorse that does not pass away. He said, your companion today is your companion tomorrow in your grave, and your deed today is your deed tomorrow, so look at who is your companion, and what is your deed. He said, guard God at your desire, and he will guard you at your meeting with him. He said, take refuge in God from a deed whose outward is obedience and whose inward is disobedience. He said, the truth has left its people no joy, and falsehood has left its people no portion of the hereafter. He said, whoever knows what is before him, what is in his hands becomes light upon him. He said, when a man's knowledge of the world is complete, he marvels at its children, and when he is blind to the knowledge of the hereafter, he marvels at its children. He said, whoever knows the world cuts it off, and whoever does not know it cuts himself off to it. And whoever knows the hereafter cuts himself off to it, and whoever does not know it cuts it off. He said, the least beneficial of appetites to you in the world is the most harmful of them to you in the hereafter, and the least burdensome of the appetites of the hereafter upon you in the world is the most rewarding of them to you in the hereafter. He said, how easy is the matter for one who, in himself, dispenses with vying with the people of pride in their pride. He has been guided to the ascent by which the lovers of nearness to God, mighty and majestic, ascended. He said, the servant's choosing of servitude is a healing, a coolness upon the heart, and a clarity for the sight. He said, the servant seeking of freedom is an affliction by which the sight is veiled. He said, the worker who looks, his work is upon love, and the worker who hears but does not look, his work is upon reluctance. So work the work of one who heard and understood, and looked and saw, and do not work the work of one who heard but did not look. He said, many a blessing becomes a punishment and a curse, and many a punishment becomes a blessing. He said, when you desire to love a thing, then increase its remembrance, for remembrance and forgetfulness do not gather together. He said, the truthful good deed, thanked for, its doer is rewarded for it in the hereafter, and is given increase of it in the world, increase for the thankfulness, and reward for the truthfulness. He said, of the most beneficial of worship is that the servant deal with his soul by the belittling of the world before it. He said, of the best of worship is that the heart of the servant be filled with the love of obedience, so when it overflows, the limbs work according to the measure of what they have seen of the heart, for at times the limbs are in worship while the heart is in idleness. I said, and how is there worship of the heart without the limbs? And how does the heart overflow with worship to the limbs? He said, that it become a vessel for concern and sorrow, for poverty and fear, for remorse, humility, and the dire need of God, mighty and majestic, and for sincere counsel to him, and the love of what God loves, and the hatred of what God hates. So when it deals with God upon this, by its heart, the limbs are stirred by the like of what they saw of the heart, so it is roused to obedience, and that is only from the heart when there mingles with its core what the resurrection will bring. And the other gate, that his heart be filled with the knowledge of the blessings of God, mighty and majestic, his joy in God, his intimacy in the worship of God, his longing toward the things God loves, his love of thankfulness to God, and his hope for the forgiveness of God. So when he deals with God by this, from his heart, he longs for the worship of the limbs along with it, so he becomes a worker, and in his work are intimacy, joy, and sweetness. He said, of the noblest of worship is that you watch God by what God loves, so when you slacken from that, watch him in what he dislikes, seeking the return to the first state you were upon, eager for that, so there arises for you, at that, an intense longing toward it, for when he sees you thus, yearning and eager, he returns to you what he took from you. He said, in this question, and the one before it, and in all deeds, it is upon the worker to understand what is upon the heart and what is upon the limbs, so he begins with what is upon the heart, then with what is upon the limbs, for the heart is the root, and the limbs are branches, and the branches do not stand except by the root. He said, of the best of character is that the servant's nature be humility, and of the best of deeds is doing good to one who did you ill. He said, strive, and do not despair, and do not say, at the mention of the righteous, were it not for my sins, I would hope for the way of the righteous, so that the mention of your sins makes you abandon the deed, for the bearer of the heavy load is worthier to strive at casting off what he has borne than the one with a light load who has nothing on his back. He said, if you desire that God look at you with mercy, then look you at the righteous with admiring goodwill, and at the disobedient with pity. He said, when concern for the soul falls into the heart of the servant, his fear for it grows intense, and his hope for people grows great, and when his heart is empty of concern for his soul, his good opinion of it grows, his hope for it grows great, and he fears for people. He said, whoever's reflection upon for things lengthens, they bequeath him sorrow and concern, and they lead one to another, and each one of them suffices, when you reflect upon God's knowledge concerning you, where your name is in the mother of the book, with what he will seal for you, and you recall your sins. He said, whoever's reflection upon for things lengthens, they bequeath him fear and dread, and they lead one to another, and each one of them suffices, whoever reflects upon death, the swiftness of the spending of the appointed term, the going to the grave, and the standing for the reckoning, and the fire, which none has the endurance to bear. He said, do not contend with God over his love, so that you deal with him by overpowering. He said, do not prefer anyone over God, lest he consign you to the one you preferred over him. He said, until when will you count preoccupation a help? He said, if you do not abandon what ruins you, there comes upon you what seduces you. He said, when you desire to apportion a charity or a kindness among people, or among others near you, then begin with the nearest of them in dwelling to you, and the most intense of them in poverty toward your charity, then the one next to him, and do not pass over with your charity one near you, or give to one who has no need of your charity. So bring near, O my brother, your standing with God, and uncover to him your poverty toward him, and his kindness will reach you among the first to be reached. So understand, O my brother, if you understand. Of the choicest knowledge. Testing the soul. It is related of a sage that he was asked about testing the soul, that the servant may know whether it is truthful or untruthful, and he said, when the servant knows that the most envious envier of him, and the bitterest enemy of him, gained by his knowledge commendation and prestige among people, while his deed remained concealed from people, and there became binding upon him, by his sincere deed, showing off in the eyes of people and the fall of his standing with them, then if his soul is content with that, and loves the carrying through of the deed, that is a sign of truthfulness, even when there comes upon him, of people's blame. Of him and the establishing of the prestige of his envier and his enemy, what he knows to be false. So if the soul does not, at that, harbor the passing thoughts of remorse, but goes on in its love for the deed, then God bless it, for that, by God, is truthfulness itself, and it is a worker for God in truth, and its deed for what is after death is sincere. How thankfulness for blessings is. I said, tell me about the saying of people, thankfulness for the blessing is the knowing of it. He said, thankfulness for it is, the knowing of it according to the measure of its place with his heart, by magnifying it and magnifying the kindness of the bestower upon him by it, and he is not one who magnifies it until he desires it, and he is not one who desires it until he knows his need of it, and he does not perceive his need of it except by reflecting upon the consequences of affairs, the swiftness of the going to them, and the intensity of his need of what he is coming upon. So at that, the blessing grows great in his estimation, from the bestower upon him by it, and he comes to know his kindness and his favor toward him in it, so at that he craves increase of it, and when God, blessed and exalted, knows that of him, he increases him of it. And in sum, whoever is provided a thing by which he hopes for the pleasure of his Lord and deliverance from the fire, it grows great in his eyes, and the heart longs toward the giver. And he is not thankful for the blessings of the world, all of them, until he is thankful for the blessings of the hereafter, and not for what his soul loves until he is thankful for what God loves, and he is not thankful to people while not being thankful to God. Taking heed of what was before birth and after death. whoever knows that he owns nothing of his soul, just as he owned nothing before he was born, and just as he will own nothing after he dies, has set his soul down at the station of weakness and poverty, in humility and lowliness, and whoever does not set his soul down at that station, and does not know that this is so with certain knowledge, has merited the way of the ignorant and deserved the punishment of those led on by degrees. Feel shame before God alone. He said, when you have carried a vessel of the vessels of evil, you tremble in fear lest there appear to people something of what is in it of evil, so when will what is between you and God be set right? Far off. Remember death, like the evil servant who does not feel shame before his master, does not turn back from his evils, and does not know his kindness to him except at the reckoning and the punishment, and remember death and what is after death. He said, what is your opinion of one who dislikes that people be informed of him in what God dislikes, yet does not feel shame that God be informed of him in what he dislikes? An evil deed for whoever is like that, and a wonder at him. How he abandons, wastes the opportunities, and takes up, of things, what God dislikes, then draws near to God by what he did not make obligatory upon him, takes up the voluntary acts, of pilgrimage and minor pilgrimage, commands and forbids, calls people, by his own claim, to God, while he runs away from him, and commands but does not act, and forbids but does not desist. Do you think one who is like that has known God? Or counts his regard of him? Or was truthful in believing that with God is reward for the obedient and punishment for the disobedient? An evil deed for whoever is like that. The reality of humility. I said, tell me about the saying of the speaker, humility is that you be such that, when you go out of your house, everyone you meet, you see that he has merit over you. So if a man claims this and brings it near with his tongue, except that, when he comes to bearing its conditions and its trials, he does not bear them except with dislike from his soul, is this one humble? He said, if those conditions were of the obligatory rights, and he accepted them only with dislike from his soul, then this one has not reached the rank of the humble. But if they were conditions below the obligatory rights, of what does not embarrass the servant to decline its acceptance from anyone, and he was content with the acceptance of the obligatory of them, then he is upon the road of the humble and upon their path. Set right what is between you and God. It is related of one of the sages that he wrote to a brother of his, I counsel you, O my brother, to set right what is between you and God, to prefer his love over your desire, to turn toward the deed of the one to whom your dealing belongs, and to accept your need. And know that your days are few, and your soul is one, so if your days are spent, there is no return for you in them, and no replacement for you of them, and if your soul perishes, you have no soul other than it. And do you know, O my brother, what the setting right of what is between you and God is? That nothing come to him from you except that there be in it, for him, contentment, and that nothing come to you from him except that there be in it, for you, contentment. So if you are weak before contentment with all that comes to you of the ruling of God and his command, then do not be weak before patience, for he has contentment with the state of his servant, so long as the servant is content with his ruling. And he has contentment with the patience of his servant upon his command and his ruling, so long as the servant is patient upon that, so he has, in both, contentment together. As for your deed, it is the fulfillment of his covenant and thankfulness for his blessings. And as for your need, it is his knowledge and his pardon, for God, glory be to him, created Adam and his offspring, created paradise as a reward for the people of his obedience and his mercy, and created the fire as a punishment for the people of his disobedience and his wrath, so we take refuge in God from his wrath and his punishment. So tend carefully, O my brother, your days, in your night and your day, and all your states, what you are in and what you are upon. And tend carefully your conscience, purify it, make it sincere, and make it sound, until it is clean of what you fear punishment for, empty for what you hope of reward, for you are not absent from God the blink of an eye, he sees you and reckons against you the weights of motes and the measures of mustard seeds, to recompense you for that on the day of resurrection, if good, then good, and if evil, then evil. So let not his remembrance be absent from you, for your need is toward him, since he has no need of you. And know, O my brother, that the root of every word is knowledge, the root of every deed is knowledge, and the root of all of that is success, together with the soundness of the structure of intellect and abundance of reflection. So if you are able that there be nothing more knowledgeable of God than you, then do it, for word, knowledge, deed, and other than that, he, blessed and exalted, is the one intended by it, and the best of people are the nearest of them to God, and the nearest of them to him are the most knowledgeable of them of him. And it has reached us that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, people excel one another by knowledge. And Ibn Masud said, Umar went off with 9/10 of knowledge. And he means by that the knowledge of God. And know, O my brother, that people are sincere in their deeds only according to the measure of their knowledge of him, are humble before God only according to the measure of their knowledge of him, thank God for his blessings only according to the measure of their knowledge of him, hoping God and fear him only according to the measure of their knowledge of him, think well only according to the measure of their knowledge of him, are patient upon his obedience and away from his disobedience, upon the concealing of his obedience, and upon the calamities by which his rulings descend, only according to the measure of their knowledge of him, and love what he loves and hate what he hates only according to the measure of their knowledge of him. So whoever the knowledge of God escapes, deficiency enters him in all that we mentioned, according to the measure of what escaped him of knowledge, and according to the measure of what he was provided of it, and so is his portion of good and evil. So seek it, O my brother, from its owner, the seeking of one who does not deserve to be given it, for the scholars only reached what they reached of knowledge according to the measure of how well they sought, and placed things in their places. So when you rise in the morning and desire something of good, then look at how your thankfulness was for what your Lord bestowed upon you in your night, and how your repentance was from what one repents of, for God, blessed and exalted, has said, if you are grateful, I will surely increase you. And he said, and turn to God in repentance, all of you, O believers, that you might succeed. And when you enter into something of good, then look at who was its beginning and upon whom is its completion, and that, were it said to you, who is most beloved to you that you work for, you would say, God. So let the conscience of your heart verify what your tongue expressed and acknowledged. And know, O my brother, that the people of the world and the hereafter are between joy and concerns. So the people of the joy of the hereafter are the people of paradise, and the most excellent of their joy is the looking at God, and the most excellent joy of the believer in the world is his joy in his Lord, and that he is his servant, and the verification of that is that it is by watchfulness of him and intimate discourse with him, and by all that he does for him, and the sign of his intimacy with his deed is the finding of the sweetness of the deed for him, and the intensity of love for his service. And it is impossible that the worker find intimacy with his deed while he is not intimate with the one he works for, or not fearful of him. And know, O my brother, that were what you seek and treat of your soul, of obedience and uprightness to God, something you treated of all the souls of the children of Adam, it would be, in the sight of God, little, so how about when it is a single soul, in a few days? So keep to, O my brother, the safeguarding, and the perseverance upon the tending of watchfulness. For were the whole world yours, and you expended it and your soul with it, in thankfulness for what he bestowed upon you of knowledge, and that he is your Lord and you are his servant, and that it was he who commanded you with his servitude and forbade you the servitude of another, all of that would be little, trifling, beside his blessing upon you in that. So do not waste it by occupying it with what you have no need for you have no escape from the knowing of his kindness to you, just as you have no escape from the ill conduct of your soul, for the servant is between a sin and a blessing, and between thankfulness and the seeking of forgiveness. And praise be to God for what he bestowed upon us and taught us, and the favor of God upon us was great. The realities of reliance upon God. It is related of one of the sages that he said, I praise God to you, the praise of one who knows no kindness except from him, and knows no object of worship other than him, and I ask him for the reliance of those wholly devoted to him, with the truthfulness of wholehearted devotion to him. To proceed. God Most High singled out the people of his friendship with the favor of wholehearted devotion to him, to make them know the succession of his blessings and the continuance of his kindness and his grace, so the concerns of the world were turned away in their hearts, and the preoccupation of the hereafter grew great in their breasts, on account of what settled in them of the awe of their Lord, so they bound their hearts to the lowliness of servitude, and cast their souls into the clear way of reliance upon God. And know, O my sister, that you will not be one who relies upon God except by the cutting off of every hope other than God. And how should your soul not be generous with the cutting of every attachment from your heart, the emptying of your heart for turning toward God, and the truthfulness of reliance upon him? And God is the sufficiency of whoever relies upon him. And the truthful reliant one of his reliance does not find his heart submitting to a created being, because his heart is filled with trust in the guarantee of God. And the truthful reliant one, in his reliance, the little of the gifts of God is great with him, despite the smallness of its amount, on account of his knowledge of the greatness of the worth of God, so he is settled to the repose of certainty, and it is the station that the people of craving for the world envy him for. So whoever's heart settles to the truth that there is no blessing in the heaven or the earth except that it is God's, his heart rests from the torment of craving. Have you not heard him say, "Is there any creator other than God who provides for you from the heaven and the earth?" And he said, unquestionably, his is the creation and the command, blessed is God, Lord of the worlds. So when you bind trust upon your heart, then you are but looking at God, because the kingdom is God's, not his creations, and according to the measure of your abandoning trust, your craving for the world grows great. So oppose your craving for the world with contentment with what is apportioned to you, for you hasten into enmity with craving for the world, because craving neither gives nor withholds. And the one who relies upon God is made independent, by the giver, the withholder of one who is neither withholder nor giver, so he is rich through God, beyond all but him, poor toward God, his heart has settled, free of agitation, so no created being is of any weight in his heart. So whoever trusts in other than God, he does not enrich him, and the reliant one keeps to piety, so God makes for him a way out and provides for him from where he does not reckon, and he did not say from where he reckons. And he said, and whoever relies upon God, then he is sufficient for him. Indeed, God will accomplish his purpose. God has already set for everything a decreed extent. So the reliant one relies upon God in all his needs, of the matters of his hereafter and his world, and cuts off his hope from all but him, and does not see his soul as a place for the choosing of his soul, because God is his sufficiency, and whoever is like that has settled to the repose of certainty. And this is the station above which there is no station higher, in the settling of the heart to God and the tranquility in the promise of God, because God has made himself the sufficiency of him, of all his creation, and whoever God is his sufficiency does not find the lack of anything, because God has guaranteed for him, and he accomplishes his purpose. And know that you, and all creation, are in dire need of God, in every state, in every motion, and every stillness, because he is the rich, he alone, and whoever trusts in other than God has seen a kingdom greater than the kingdom of God, and whoever trusts in God is made independent by him, because God is his sufficiency, and in God is a successor from all creation, while in none of creation is there a successor from God, because God is the rich, he alone. So when you have known that God is the sufficiency of whoever relies upon him, how do you not seek the provision by reliance upon God, mighty and majestic? Do you not know that the provider has apportioned among his servants their livelihoods, has favored some of them over others in provision, and has finished with what he decreed and ordained of that? So how do you toil, after your knowledge, in seeking what has already been finished for you of its measure? Do you not hear the saying of God, mighty and majestic, and if God should touch you with adversity, there is no remover of it except him, and if he touches you with good, then he is over all things competent. So how do you seek the removal of adversity from other than God, or seek benefit from other than God? And how is it that the dominant upon your heart is not the seeking of the removal of adversity and the seeking of benefit from him alone, when you have known that all of that is in his hand alone? And how do you fear the missing of something of good that God desires for you? And if he does not desire it for you, then who will give you that, or grant you it? And the one who relies upon God does not turn toward the world, because he does not see it as a danger to his soul, and does not see it, his soul, and all that is in it, as anything but God's. And to him are equal the riding of the sea, the walking on land, intimacy and estrangement, work and sitting, because God Most High is the sufficiency of whoever relies upon him. Do you not hear his saying Most High, is not God sufficient for his servant? And yet they threaten you with those other than him. So the one who relies upon God is content with his knowledge of God, away from preoccupation with another, because he has known that the one who delivers the benefits to him is God alone, with no partner to him. And also, when your heart settles to God, you do not fear another, because God is the sufficiency of whoever relies upon him. And of the sign of the reliant one is, that he prefers truthfulness where it harms him over falsehood where it benefits him, because it is not sound, for one who relies upon him, that he fear another. And likewise, when he commands the right and forbids the wrong, he fears none but God, because his hope of God is greater than his fear of the threat of created beings, for the one who relies upon God has cast out of his heart every feared, dreaded, and grieved thing other than God, until his fear and his hope are joined to God. And know that the helpers only present themselves at the casting of the world out of your heart, so they shrink back, at that, toward the paths of honor and self-sufficiency through God, because you know that there is no withholder, no giver, no harmer, and no benefactor except God alone. And do not turn away from God by your ignorance, so that you submit to one beneath him at the threatening of Satan, and he overpowers you at that. Do you not hear his saying, Satan threatens you with poverty and orders you to immorality, while God promises you forgiveness from him and bounty? So what do the promises of Satan harm you, with the guarantee of the Most Merciful? And know that you will not be one who relies upon God Most High until you travel the way of going to him upon stillness and tranquility to God, and until you worship God content with what he has brought you to, because you do not know another. So when you come to this station, the greatness of God and his majesty are upon your heart, because creation, all of it, falls short of his right upon them, exalted is his majesty. And know that God, glory be to him, singled out the reliant ones with the stations of safety, and veiled from them every remorse, so they look at God in what they hope for. He has veiled their hearts from all but him, for what they hope of his kindness, and they were made independent by his remembrance of the remembrance of another. And know that you will not be one who relies until you become pure of all ownership for your soul, even with the ownership of the world, and until you trust in none but God alone, no partner to him, and until you see your sustenance upon God alone, so let not greed take you to other than God. Do you not see that the one in whose hands you coveted what is it not within the dominion of God? Is there in the heaven a barrier that bars you from God? So know that you are not able to ordain your provision, just as you are not able to ordain death. Have you not heard God say, God is the one who created you, then provided for you, then will cause you to die, and then will give you life? So settle, O my brother, to the promise of God Most High concerning his provision, just as you settle to the fact that you are mortal, and cut off the preoccupation with the mention of secondary causes from your heart. And know that God provides for you by a cause and without a cause, and every cause is fixed. You do not know when your provision comes to you, just as you do not know when death comes to you. Do you not see that God promised to provide for you, and concealed your provision from you by the decree, and it has a time at which it descends? So were you to contrive by every contrivance that it come to you before its time, you would not be able to do that, until it descends at its time. Have you not heard God, mighty and majestic, say, and in the heaven is your provision and whatever you are promised? Then by the Lord of the heaven and the earth, indeed, it is truth, just as it is that you are speaking. And know that the one who trusts in God has cast out of his heart the suspicion of God, and if you are in the shade of a cause, then let not your heart incline toward the cause, but let your heart be with God, mighty and majestic. And know that the steward does not spend except by the permission of the master, so bind your heart to your master, because, if he gives you, the people of the earth are not able to withhold from you, and if he withholds from you, the people of the earth are not able to give you, because his authority is great, and your reliance upon him suffices you. So the reliant one is settled of heart to the guaranteed, for whoever cuts off the heart from secondary causes does not see anything but God, because the decree of God runs upon the reliant one and upon others. Do you not hear his saying Most High, and how many a creature carries not its own provision? God provides for it and for you. And he is the hearing, the knowing. And the reliant one has known, with certain knowledge, and his heart has settled to it, that what is apportioned to him and ordained, even were it in the blowing of the wind, would reach him, and that what is not apportioned to him and not ordained, even were it between his hands, and the people of the heavens and the earth strove to deliver to him the like of a mote or a mustard seed, they would not be able to do that. And he has said, and do not kill your children for fear of poverty. We provide for them and for you. And he said, and upon God rely, if you should be believers. So he did not affirm faith for them except by their reliance upon him. And he said, upon God do we rely. And he said, and why should we not rely upon God while he has guided us to our ways? So reliance is the very essence of faith, because it is an obligation upon the servants, and faith is not except by reliance, and reliance increases and decreases, just as faith increases and decreases, and people excel one another in reliance and faith according to the measure of certainty. Here ends the book of the Disciplines of the Souls by al-Muhasibi, may God have mercy upon him. Praise be to God alone, and his blessings and peace upon our Master Muhammad and his family. He is our sufficiency, and the best of guardians.